Live from the Rez here, special guest Berto Torres, as I know him. What's up, Bet? How you doing, man?
What's up, Raul? Man, honored to be here.
Yeah, I was gonna start it with the Kwan John Nim, KDIO, Kumeyaay.
It's Master Wilson stuff, huh?
That's right. Rest in peace, Master Wilson.
Yeah,
Grandmaster James A. Wilson. Kicho Punse over, sir.
Yeah.
Yay, man.
Yeah.
Do you remember that stuff when you hear it? Do you like what the heck?
Yeah. It's hard to forget, you know. He ingrained it in our brains, you know.
For those of you out there listening, you have no idea what we're talking about right now. That's some, I think it's Korean. That's what he told us.
Yeah,
It might have been something else. Sometimes when I'm speaking Kumeyaay and I lose my way, I'll just start going into that.
Start counting the numbers in Korean.
Yeah. We took Taekwondo for a few years back in the day, back when we were in high school, and our teacher, he's passed on now, but pretty intense dude, Grandmaster James A. Wilson, who was a lawyer, a doctor, and
Oh man,
I don't know.
He was everything, you know.
But he would always do his, he would always say those words and stuff, and then he'd always, like, when he kicked and stuff, be like, bache!
Bache, bacho! Oh man.
I love talking to people, like, from La Posta or, like, down on Humboldt, like, some of the different areas that had him as an instructor, Saquon, because they, like, totally remember that. Like, you could just say that, bache, and they'll be like, oh!
Master Wilson.
Master Wilson, you're trained. It's like, yeah, that's why I'm still alive.
Man, that guy was hardcore, man. He used to sit there and wail on us in class, man.
All the sparring, doing push-ups on knuckles. To this day, I still do push-ups on knuckles.
Yeah.
I don't know if he said it was good for you, so that's what I do.
Yeah, I remember being in class one day, and he wanted to sit there and do an example demonstration, and have me stand there, and you got to kind of stance and blow out of the wind when he hits you, whatever. Man, he did a round kick, boom, like hit me right in the spot, dropped me, man, like knocked the wind out of me. He's like, hey, you alright? I was like, dude, you just freaking roundhouse kicked me, dropped me, like I'm alright.
I liked when there was the follies. Like I remember. Sonny was in there one time. I don't know if you remember that. He came in and he was like real in good shape at the time. And he was like, go ahead, punch me in the chest. And I remember thinking like, oh dude, he doesn't want him, this guy, he chose the wrong guy. You don't want him to, but he was like going to catch the punch, you know, because he'd done that with us a lot. And then he didn't punch him 100%, but you could tell me he really hit him.
Yeah.
And he didn't catch it. And man, it hit Grandmaster James Wilson right in the chest. It's like, boom, and he was just like, ugh. And he was like really playing it off, but he never got rocked, dude. I was like, oh no. Next thing you know, we're all doing push-ups. I was like, why'd you have to hit that guy? But,
what's the trip? My last semester at the Mesa College, because I'm still going for my associates. I did elective, because I got to take care of all my elective classes to get my associates, because I did all my master or all my classes for my degree, and I took martial arts, and I just crashed the course, and the instructor. Heidi Wilson, I didn't know who she was, and she's like, hey, you got any experience? I'm like, yeah, I did a little bit of Taekwondo, back on the res, and, in my teenage years. She's like, oh, really? Like, who was your master? And I told her, I'm like, Master Wilson? She's like, Master Grand Wilson? I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, that was my husband. I was like, oh, wow.
oh, no way.
Yeah, so it was a trip to kind of...
She also part of the Southwestern Association of Martial Arts, Mama?
Yeah.
This stuff's all computerized.
Yeah, she's all black belt, and
real.
the stories that she told were exactly, who he was
crazy.
too. It was like, hey, he wasn't easy on her either. He's like, man, she's telling the stories about him. I'm like, man, he kicked your ass too. Wow. No, but it's cool though. It was honored to sit there and be in the presence of Master Wilson, and being coached by his wife. So that was cool.
You did martial arts for a little while. Did you ever fall back? And I know you couldn't do no single finger eye attack, but did any of that training help you with any of that?
I think so. For a while, I think you remember when I was doing the MMA and stuff like that. So that stuff definitely helped with the kicks and the discipline. So yeah, it definitely did help. The Taekwondo experience.
The footwork probably in and out a little bit.
The footwork, yeah, the conditioning. You don't really. Every martial art's a little bit different. So you don't sit there and totally wind up your arms to do a block. It's a little bit different. But as far as the striking and the punches go, and that. You definitely take that to the next, martial arts, when you sit there and collaborate it all together.
Do you ever miss your MMA days?
I do, but, at the same time, it's a physical, kind of thing, it takes a lot out of you, you got to commit yourself to it. But, as far as the conditioning goes that, I do miss that part about it,
Yeah, that's one thing I think I know. I was really into UFC and I was into MMA and all that, and then I never wanted to go fight or nothing, necessarily, but I was like, I'm gonna go do the training. And like I had the same experience when I tried doing boxing too. It's like you go in there and you think kind of like I can throw some hands, you know. I've been in some street stuff maybe, or you know, and then you go in there and you start training, and they're like, all right, jump rope for 5 minutes to warm up. And you get like a minute into jump rope, and you're like, whoa, dude, what are we doing here? And then they're like, all right, we're gonna do some abs, you know. It's like all this conditioning, and you're like, holy smokes! By the time you even get a chance to really start doing stuff that looks like fighting, you're so wiped out, dude. You're like, wow, this is some great cardio stuff. But
well, you went down to the school a few times down there in Oklahoma.
Undisputed
down
days
there,
back in the
Undisputed,
day.
yeah.
Did some jiu-jitsu and some of the Muay Thai and Muay Thai. And just MMA stuff. I liked it though. It was good training.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun.
Yeah.
Know? It's competitive, you know. Yeah, getting in that cage is a little bit different than, you know, the training, but, you know, that's why you do the training is, you know, so your fights are not so, you know, challenging or so difficult, but, you know, people are training in there just to fight you anyway, so, you know, it could be easier or it could be challenging, but, you know, you don't know until you get in there, but, yeah, that's one of the things that, you know, I probably do like don't miss about it is like getting in the fights and, you know, coming out with a black eye or bruised legs and limping around like, oh man. But,
and then like the week after walking around with all the shiner and everything and people looking at you funny probably. Was that funky or?
Nah, I mean, you know, as far as like, you know, what you went through and stuff like that, and, you know, most of the people, the circles that you run in, people know you, and, you know, for the people who don't, it's like, oh man, you know what, that guy got his ass kicked, like, all right, whatever, you know, people just passing judgment, but, you know, you don't think nothing about it because, you know, what you're doing, you know, for you to get that black eye or whatever, you know.
Was that something you wanted to do when you were younger? Did you want to fight when you were young, or?
You know what?
You always seemed pretty cool back when we were in school. You didn't seem like you never were looking for fights. So.
No, you know what? It's something I just kind of fell into. You know, I know one of the promoters up there, you know, Campo was putting on the fights, and I just kind of watched the fight, and I was just kind of like talk a little bit of smack. I'm just like, hey man, if you're short and need somebody to fight, he's like, come on now. I'm just like, man, I'm just trying to get it, you know, I was just trying to get a ticket, but you know, I just kind of talk a little bit of smack, and then the fights came. He's like, hey man, we're short, somebody fell out or whatever. You want to fight? I'm just like, well, whatever. He's like, hey, we pay. I'm just like, oh shoot, I could use some money.
Can I do two?
Yeah. So yeah, I went out there and, you know, did the main event, and I got my ass kicked. It's like, hey, you know what, you did good. Why don't you go down to the gym and train? You know. So I was like, oh man, all right. So that's how it kind of happened. You know, it wasn't something that was planned or like, hey, I'm gonna go train to, you know, fight people. You know. So that's how we kind of fell into it. Yeah, kind of silly, but you know.
Yeah. I wonder how many people started their careers that way though, and went out there and just started scrapping.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember those fights up there in Campo. They were cool, man. It was entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you would tell someone just was straight off the street because they would look good maybe around, and then they would just be wiped out from cardio.
Well,
and then the other guy you could tell trained. And it was always rough, dude. It was like, oh, here it goes.
Well, that's the thing is like, you know, growing up, you know, fighting and, you know, getting beat up and all that stuff. Like, I was always like a tough kid, you know, growing up. But like when you get out there, you know, it's just a fight or whatever. But yeah, you're absolutely wrong for going in there thinking like, oh, you know, street fighting and then actually training somebody that actually is training to fight. You know, it's not going to go well, you know, because, you know, they know all that stuff, jiu-jitsu. And if you have no training like that, you know, you're just like, you know, trying to, you know, get this person off the top of you, you know, but once you learn jiu-jitsu, you know, that's not really the worst position to be into, you know. It's like, okay, I'm on my back, it's not, you know, that bad, but, you know, in a street fight, you know, you're on the bottom, you're like, oh man, this is like the worst place to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Someone's friend's going to kick you.
Yeah, right.
You're going to get stomped.
Right.
Yeah, and there, you got someone on their back, you might be in the worst position that you could imagine to be in.
Yeah.
The other part of that, too, is I think the adrenaline dump, you know, like on the streets. You know, fight doesn't last that long, so you can do the adrenaline thing and, you know, go whatever. But in the you know, organized match, you go in there and get all your nerves and you're all excited. 30 minutes or 30 seconds in, you start to dump out. A minute in, you're wiped out, and they're just warming up. You know, they're training they're having that same fight in the gym like, you know, weekly, so it's not a big deal for them.
Yeah, it's a little bit different fighting in the cage. You know, it's a respect thing. You know, you may or may not like each other, but at the end, you know, you sit there and, you know, majority of the times you shake hands, you know, and it's like let the best man win kind of thing. It's a sport, you know, and you go into it like that. Street fight's a little bit different, you know, because you don't know, you know, if you get in a street fight, and that's the thing is mentality-wise or mentally, it's not something you prepare for. A street fight just happens, you know. It's not like 9 out of 10 times it just happens. It's not like, you know, you're planning to go over there and fight somebody, you know. Maybe back in the day when you're kids, like, you know, little beef over there. Hey, you know what? You call me this? Meet me at the park. You know, it's not like that, you know. So it's a little bit different, you know, cage fight from a street fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up, man, I remember you used to know all the, you used to know all the old school. I was just thinking of this right now, but all the old like CCR songs and all the different kind of, all the old Rez rocks, and the Rez hits and stuff like that, and all those things. And I remember your family over there used to always, they'd make shawi and things like that for our doings here in our community. And it's crazy because like now nobody does that anymore.
Yeah.
Like at our funerals and at our really like weddings, like all of our big events. You'd go in there and it'd always be the tortillas and the beans and all the the food.
Always.
And then there would always be like a couple trays of shawi. And it's crazy because my wife in the mountains, my wife's family, they've done that. And they can continue to make it, and you'll see it. Families up there do it. But in my res here, it seemed like your family was one of the last families to really keep that going into the 90s and into 2000s, and it's like now I don't see it as much,
Yeah.
And I know you've had family members that passed on who were holding that tradition.
Yeah.
You never learned how to make shawi, man?
Well, yeah, I never actually made it myself, but my mom, I used to watch her all the time, and she'd take us up to like, Manzanita and Campo, and we'd pick acorns, and, man, that was like it was a process, I'd sit there, she'd go through the acorns and, help her out and, sort them out and pull out the ones that were all bad and then dry them out for a while, and then she'd be there with like a rock and just cracking them, and she'd get them cracked and let them dry out and then peel them off, and then the roast would have to come off, so they'd do some more drying. So it was like, it wasn't something that was done in like a week or nothing at all.
Yeah.
It took time, and so it was like a lot of work. I'd sit there and see her do that, but when it came down to the grinding the acorns, man, I was young, and I remember we had like this little hand grinder, and it was outside of our house that we grew up in over there on the corner, and she had this grinder and like, hey, get on out here and grind these acorns and pile them in there, and you're all just trying to bust through them. My cousin, my brother would be out there, but they would only hang out for so long. They're older and just like, I'm out of here, go play, hang out with their friends, and I'd be over there double timing it, and she like want them like more finely crushed or grinded up. So she'd put them back in there even the second time, and that'd be even harder because everything's like filing into the grinder and getting more compact. I'm like, oh man, that was like really hard. But yeah, man, I remember my mom, going through all that and making the shawi for, like you said, she used to do it all the time, for, wakes and, different stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, I always appreciate it. I don't know. It's one of those things too where I think you appreciate it later on, especially when it's not there anymore. You're like, oh man, it's, because like there was someone made a pan not too long ago, and there was a lot of people who never had eaten it, and I was tripping out on it. Like, man, I know people have never eaten it before.
Wow.
Some of the younger crowd,
Yeah.
And I heard one person say they never even seen it before, and I was like, wow, they never even seen shawi. But a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like it, like saying kind of negative things about it. Meanwhile, that's our traditional food. You know what I mean? That's what sustained our people for thousands of years. And I personally liked it. It reminded me of being a kid, and you throw some salt on it, throw it in the tortilla roll or whatever, and with meat or whatever. I thought it was always good. I liked it and not to like try to be Indian either. It was just I actually liked it. I was a chubby kid, so I didn't. I wasn't pushing food away.
Right.
But that's really cool to have that process. But I hear now people like they use the ninjas and just.
All right.
That's crazy, huh?
Yeah, that probably works. Where the hell was that when I was a kid? Like, oh my, got this.
For real, that's probably what they said about the grinders, because they used to do the rock, I guess, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody now wants to make shawi. They want to do the rock, and that's cool. But it's like just let's get it done, man.
Yeah, why make it harder for yourself?
Yeah. You miss those days though. You miss all those old time days like that.
Yeah, I do, because it comes like a memory of my mom being around, she's not here any longer. She's been, gone for a little while. So yeah. We always have like, fond memories of our family, of our mom and, certain pastimes or whatever. So yeah, I definitely miss some of those times,
Mm-hmm.
The smell of food, my mom always cooked, and my mom, would always put food on when guests, and this was like, years before phones were like a big thing. Visitors would just pop over, just out of nowhere. There was no phone calls or nothing like that.
Yeah.
And, I just remember my mom would just like put on food and put on coffee and just like entertain and, keep the, company, fed and stuff like that. So, that's one of the things I do miss, like coming in there, being a kid and, like you just you don't really know what's going on, but you see it, and he's like out there playing, and you come in and you smell food going on, like, oh, it's time to eat again. Like, boy, it's not for you. Get on out of here. Like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, miss some of those stuff, like growing up. It's not like that anymore.
No, it's not. I'm guilty of it too. Going to my house, I might give you a bottle of water. But I remember like being a kid and going to people's houses like that. Yeah, like the more traditional people, they'd have food for you and stuff.
Yeah.
And down south, like in Baja, where Kumeyaay Nation down there, they're like that still. A lot of places. And I've gone down there and they're real quick to like, they got a pot of beans cooking already, and they'll throw some tortillas together, and you're like, hey man, this is cool, you know?
Right.
And it's like supposedly they're like, we're wealthy and they're struggling, but it don't seem like it. Right. They're eating their beans and tortillas, but it's just like an old manner that they had, tradition, and that's cool. Your mom was like one of our last really strong speakers of her dialect too in this area. I know my mom used to always say, because my mom speaks, and she'd always say, God, I got to get over there and talk to her and ask her, about some of the words and stuff that she would say. Who would know that? Or I'd ask my mom, how do you say this? Or why, just some things about the language, when I'd say, oh, I think it's this, but, I really need to get over there and talk to her, and she would, she'll know. And I know when that time came when she passed on, my mom was really bummed. She's like, man, I want to go over and kind of pick her brain, and things like that. And to me, that was like, my light went on in my head, like, oh man, we need to make sure, like, we do have those conversations and pick people's brains, especially our elders, and not just let that generation go without, like in vain, and not let it go without trying to get the information that is real important for everybody, But that's one thing I'm noticing now, which I think is a bummer, is that remember when we were young, there were speakers all over,
Yeah.
It was kind of, they were talking, and you kind of as a kid wouldn't get up in their business, but you could hear it, and it was cool to be part of that. Now, like, I don't ever hardly hear the language anymore. Yeah. It's a bummer.
Yeah. I remember, my mom, and, it'd be at different stuff, and funerals or something that, it's part of our lives, as far as the Native community goes, and going to different reservations and hearing my mom talk to the elders, and they would sit there and totally speak, or even too when, I said, like visitors would come, they'd come from different places, and my mom be out there speaking the language, and, when she was like talking about you or like the family, whatever, because your name would be thrown there, but like, oh, you said something about one of us, like there's my name, but I don't know what you said, and those things I kind of like, kind of regret, because my mom did speak it, like, that I didn't take it in or whatever, and, I look back, I'm just like, man, I should have, like, tried to learn the language from her, and I didn't, and that's one of the things I regret about not learning from my mom, because she knew a lot about it,
Yeah. She was a real strong elder like that, with all that kind of knowledge, man. You dropped the ball. Hey, no, I know you know stuff.
Yeah.
We used to, give teachers a hard time talking bad stuff and saying things at school. Seems like that's something that's gone away a little bit too. I know our generation, a couple years younger also, like they'd be talking words and things like that. I don't know. Maybe the younger generation are doing that too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't hear it as much. Later on, you went and you got jumped in the Red Hawks, man.
Oh yeah.
You missed those days.
Yeah, I miss those days, man. There's some wild times, man. There's some good times, some good memories there.
Yeah.
And, met some good people along the way.
I want to get my brother Beef in here and talk about that whole thing. He's always got those stories, man.
Oh, man.
He starts whistling around and starts. I don't know how he does it.
Your brother's a cool kid, man. He's a riot, man. He's a good time out there.
Every time I see him, he tells me like 2 stories about firefighting. I'm like, I got to get him in here to talk about that. And I guess talk about the Red Hawks, but just to talk about firefighting.
Oh man, he'll go all day long about different stories, with the Red Hawks and just in the Forest Service itself, yeah.
Hey, so these days you've been doing a lot of, and I've known you like, we've known each other forever, but like I've known you to do like I said MMA and the firefighting, and I've known you to be in some things here and there, but right now you're all in construction. You're doing, you're building stuff. You're what are you doing with that?
I'm doing a renovation remodel homes, like all residential, so anything from plumbing, electrical, framing. So pretty much build a house from the ground up, and that's my ultimate one of my goals or dreams is to build my own house. And something to leave like my kids, so when my time comes, I can leave them like some kind of foundation, and whatever they do with it, it's up to them. But that's one of my goals, to actually be able to build my house, by with my hands,
That's pretty cool. There's up in San Isabel, Vans Res. There's a 2-story home up there. It's real cool. My buddy Mike, his grandpa made it. Remember, I went there when I was like a teenager, And I was like, this is a really cool house because, you know, there wasn't a lot of two-story houses on the reses back then.
Right.
It's like one of the few two-story houses I'd been in. And then he was still around. He was like, yeah, you know, he goes, yeah, my grandpa, he like made this with his bare hands. I just always think like, dang, that would be cool to like say I made my house, like built it all myself, like design, built, whatever.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
That's your dream, though, huh?
Yeah, that's one of my goals, one of my dreams, you know, just to leave, you know, something that, you know, my family could remember me by, you know, because we're all going to have a time, you know, so, you know, while I'm here, I want to leave something for them, you know.
How did you get involved in that? You just, you started off as a gopher, go for this, go for that?
You know, way back when I was fighting fires, you know, I had kids at a young age and things didn't work out the way I wanted them to, so, you know, I had to transition from the job that I was at. There's no way, you know, I could be around and, you know, be a father to my kids and do all that if I was gone off force all summer long. So I made the transition and got into construction, and yeah, pretty much had to start at a gopher. I was working at Decton for a little bit. I even did the labor ready, and I was trying to get a job, and you know, it was just like a racket for a while, but you know, I just stuck with it, and I even, you know, went to landscaping for like a little bit because, you know, I was just kind of getting tired of doing like the bottom. I really wanted to pick up a trade, but you know, since I was under contract with like Labor Ready and Decton, nobody could hire me without breaking the contract. They'd have to pay for me to like jump ship or whatever. So, you know, I just, you know, I felt like at that time I was going through a lot in my life, and you know, just to sit there and shovel dirt all day long was like really weighing on me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I can't sit here and do this all day long because my life and my mind is just like totally preoccupied with what I'm going to do with myself. And, you know, sitting here shoveling dirt and doing mindless work is not helping me. You know, I felt like I was in a negative place. You know, I was like, man, something's got to give. You know, I'm either going to go back to the Forest Service or, you know, and like figure it out, or, you know, I got to do something else. And, you know, along with that came a little bit of trouble, but, you know, I was telling the guy that I was working for, you know, I remember this guy's name Jack, and he was like the supervisor at a job, and, you know, and I was telling him how I felt, and, you know, that I might go back to the Forest Service, but, you know, it was kind of probably not really an option because of the struggle and the fight that I was trying to, you know, do for my kids. So I told, you know, I got a landscaping opportunity. I was like, man, and I went ahead and took it because, you know, I wasn't under contract anymore. And, you know, when I went over there, you know, he kind of told me, he's like, you know what, he's like, I don't see you doing the landscaping thing. It's probably the same thing you're doing here. You're probably not going to like it. And, you know, he left me a message. He's like, hey, I have this buddy Dennis, you know, he does framing, whatever, you know, you should give him a call. So I called this guy Dennis, and he didn't even know me or anything like that, but he put me on, and that's how I kind of got into framing. Wow. And that was like one of my first, you know, actual construction jobs, you know. And prior to that, you know, at high school I did like a little bit of drywall, a little bit of stucco, but, you know, not a job that I just like carried on and, you know, kept on wanting to do, you know.
Seems like framing would be a good thing to jump into also because it's like, those are skills you can use no matter what. If you go into a different profession, you're around the house, and you know your lady's like, go put up a bookshelf or go put up a
right.
You can frame. You know, like it just seems like you got to go out and, you know, you're gonna build a garden, like you got to do a little framing. Want to build a chicken coop, got to do some framing.
Right.
Seems like that's a good skill to have. That's the one thing I suck at because I'll saw my saws get all messed up, or I'll cut on the wrong side of the line, or you know, little things like that. I just don't do enough of it.
Yeah. Takes practice, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like nobody ever just gets up in there and just like, you know, totally building masterpieces, you know.
I saw when they built my home. I saw the dude, one of the guys that was working on it. He was like, you know, like you put the board down and you saw like that on the table. You know, this is what I'm thinking. This dude was dropping the board on his foot, just zooming right through. Like he had no little safety thing on his saw
all the time.
It would just go. I was like, I did that. I would have no toe, and about a week later, have no leg because it would just be gone. Like he was just zooming through boards. I was like, how do you even get a... Because when I do, it's like the skill saw turns on. It's like...
Yeah.
He was just going like rip, like whoop. And I was just like, okay, this is an art. This is more than just a labor. This is like, you get good at this. You can just...
Disclaimer, I don't do that.
Hey, yeah. If OSHA's listening, we do not do that. Do not do that.
Always put the guard down. And
I got the goggles on. Hey.
Yeah. You know, being young and going into that trade, you see that, you know, it's like, and I didn't really think about that, you know, when, you know, I first got into the business, and this was probably about like 2006 or something like that, and I used to watch, you know, see these older cats that like knew all this stuff, man, like how the hell you know all this stuff, and they seem pretty young, you know, and then here I am, Now I see younger, you know, cats looking at me like, how the hell do you know all this stuff? I'm just like, man, it's all those years of experience and being out there and trial and error. You know, it's a trip. You know, sit there and know all that stuff. You know, just like you said, just drop the board down and cut it and just like make it look all easy.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. You know, but it's kind of, it is a good trait to have. You know, sitting there putting that bookshelf up straight. Hey.
I was like mine, put some all his rolls off to the side.
All sides off the cup off.
Well, you know the worst thing is if you don't do that kind of line of work, you don't always have the tools. So like me, I have the tools, and then like the kids will take it or I'll misplace it. So when I go to do a project, I'm like, damn, where's my level ladder? Where's my this? So you just start going, you know what? I'm gonna eyeball it. I'm gonna this or that, and everything just comes out like it looks good, but it's like 80% good.
Right.
Would have been a solid 90 if I'd had the right tools.
The right tools.
But I don't got the tools. It would have been 100 if I knew what I was doing.
Right.
But it's like you just do your thing. You know, the one thing about like all of that is like, you know, whether it's framing or whatever, the you know, knowing those skills is like, you know, and I think right now with all of this COVID stuff going on, you know, and I think, and maybe it's just on my mind because I have kids right now. My oldest is 18, my second oldest is 16. You know, these guys are starting to become adults and stuff, and looking forward, you know, it's like, what are they going to do with themselves, you know? And it's like coming from a reservation, there's many options, kind of, you know, like they can stay with grandma, they can stay with me, they can, you know, apply for some kind of tribal housing. I guess they can just kind of hang around the res. A lot of people do that, you know what I mean? There's resources here. They're not, none of them are going to starve, you know what I mean? Like their aunt or uncle will give them some food and take them in, you know? But it's like, that's not a life I want for them, or I hope they want for themselves. I want them to go out, try to make something of themselves and make good decisions, whatever those decisions are. And it seems like what gets fed to the kids always is like, okay, go to college, and then go get a career. And I'm not saying that that's bad, you know, because I did that myself. And I think that you get a lot out of that, but I think it's also can be limited too, because a lot of times you're sending these kids to college and there's student loans and there's no guarantee they're going to finish college. You might go 3-4 years in and just go, this isn't for me.
Right.
You know, and then there's no guarantee when you get that degree you're going to get the job that you want or in the career.
Well, you see that happen a lot.
You have it happens all the time. There's so many out of work people who have degrees and even master's degrees and things, or they have their degree and they work in a different field than their degrees in.
Yeah, you see it
and
all
so,
the time.
you know, you kind of, to me, like I have these conversations with myself, and I'm talking to the kids and my wife, and you know, it's just kind of another parents, and it's kind of like, you know, what are we supposed to be telling our kids or advising them when they ask us? And so for me, I've been trying to educate myself in things like entrepreneurship, ownership, you know, investments, you know, things that are not necessarily traditional to our economy on the res.
Of course.
You know, our grandparents didn't have all these things. They were living in huts they'd made themselves, and their parents were like old school Indians just living off the land, you know. So we're very new to this new kind of American economy. So how do we navigate and create generational wealth, like you're talking about, build a home, you know? And it's like, when I look at people who do construction or a lot of these fields that you're in, it's like, I think sometimes they're undervalued by people, because, okay, if I send a kid to college, right? I send my kid to college, it's going to be, I don't know, maybe 50 grand to educate that kid.
Of course.
I think that's a very modest number. I think some people spend that in a year.
Right.
But let's just say 50 grand to get that guy a 4-year degree. And again, that's very modest. It's probably closer to, you know, 75.
That's more than that. Yeah.
But 50 grand, you know, and he goes and gets a job and he has to pay that back, and you know, over a period of time he might make himself $1 million more with that degree. I think is what the studies say. And again, the economy is going to be funky from here on out, so the old numbers probably don't apply.
Right.
But okay, he makes $1 million more over the course of 20 to 30 years. He's going to make $1 million more. Same time, if that person, my son, went out and learned, say, construction, he could potentially build his own home.
Right.
Maybe build 2 homes on land, and those homes, you know, over the period of 10 to 20 years could be worth $1 million maybe each.
Right.
So it's like that degree's worth money, and it took time, and took that sweat, that equity to, you know, to build, to get that knowledge, you know, to get that degree. They don't just get sent to you, you gotta work for it. But at the same time, all the knowledge of how to build a house, the construction knowledge, you know, you have to work for that, like you're saying. You gotta be that young guy to the old guy, and you gotta throw those nails, and you gotta be there to learn. You gotta want to do it. But it's not all for nothing. You're not just some construction guy. You have the ability to go out and build a home that could potentially grow in wealth. And then, like you said, give it to your kids.
Right.
And now you're giving them a gift that's could potentially be worth $500,000, $1 million, who knows what.
Right.
As property, there's two things in America that I learned that always seem to increase. One is, of course, the stock market.
Right.
There's times where there's lulls and it goes down and it stagnates. But if you go back 100 years ago, to
Real
today,
estate.
it goes up. And the number two is real estate.
estate.
Boom. Real estate always, it climbs. It may take time. It may stagnate. It may go down a little bit. But if you ride it out, real estate always becomes worth more. Those are the two for sure bets in our country, or in the last 100 years. So it's like, why would you not put that to your children and say, hey, go buy real estate and put a quality home on there? And yeah, you can pay someone $300,000 to do it, or you can do it yourself for a quarter of the cost. You know what I mean? But you got to have those skills.
That's true. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you're doing that, man. I think that shouldn't be undervalued at all.
Yeah. There's a lot to it, and the people I work for, they see the value in it, and that's why they refer me to different people, and eventually try to get to a larger scale of customers and stuff like that. But being in the trade, and then being like the contractor, you have to know so many assets of construction. It's not like just you're swinging a hammer all day long and putting boards together. It's like so many things to know by codes and by law and stuff. So it's not so that's a lot that comes to it. By the time when you finally get to that point, then you can sit there and teach the younger guys that want to sit there and maybe take that career path, and you show them the way or whatever. So then you have guys that work for you that know how to build stuff the right way, so there's not like all these legalities that are against you, because you wanted to have facets. So you have to like kind of be diligent, about running your business, or the things that come with the construction, So it took like a whole lot of experience to get to that point,
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes society or pop culture, whatever, they want to kind of like pretend people work with their hands are dummies or something, or they like weren't intellectual to go to college or something. But that's not true, man. To own your own business, or to, like you said, deal with those contracts, deal with the all the different legalities of it all, man. That takes a lot of brain power. Whether you're in if you're in
there's a lot of stuff to know in the business. If you're doing electrical, you got to know all the codes, you got to know all the standards, and you got to be able to know how to write stuff up and have a contract, so that way you're not getting into a legal dispute with your customer if something goes wrong. That way you're protected. So there's like the legal part about it, and then there's the business part about it that has to do with money, and the same thing for plumbing. Plumbing's the same thing, you don't want to sit there and do something and then all of a sudden something goes wrong. And that's why it's important to be like bonded, insured, you cause a flood or start a fire. That's all legal lawsuits and stuff like that. So it's important for you to know what you're doing, both legally and, the fundamentals of construction, so it's like a lot of stuff that you actually have to know besides physically doing the work. So
is that do you have to be self-motivated to kind of learn that stuff? I mean, it seems like you would. It seems like you just be a laborer your whole life.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to kind of learn more.
You get to the point, where, everybody's different. Some people just are content being a laborer and just want to work for somebody like that.
Yeah.
But then when you sit there and you see the boss, driving a nice truck and, taking vacations and telling people what to do and this and that, and, behind closed doors, that looks all good and everything, but there's a lot of work involved into it. But you know what? I would rather take that more extra work to have my financial freedom and, kind of run my own ship than to sit there and, run under somebody else, because it's like, a little bit, because you got your own way of like running business. And when you're just like the labor or whatever, it's like, oh, how come the boss does it like this? And, we're out here, this and that. And, you see them, making money off of your blood, sweat, and tears, stuff like that. So you get to a point, it's like, hey, you know what? I could be the boss. And, it's happened to me a lot of times before I became my own boss where, they sit there and see me, doing the work, the boss comes in and like, oh yeah, everything's good, okay, blah, 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 boom, gone, go golfing for the day or go wherever they're going to go do, whatever they do, and then you're out there doing the work and, you're only making X amount of dollars, and when you sit there and add it up, it's like, man, I'm capped out, like I'm not going to make more than this, and, unless I get a raise. And so for you to get a raise, you either got to ask your boss or you got to start jumping from company to company to get that raise. And that's how construction guys do it, unless they, companies, some of them will pay, some of them don't. But, the ones that see the value in their employees will like give their guy a raise and keep them happy. But the ones that are not, they're going to jump ship and go where their money's at, So you just get to a point where, it's like, I don't want to sit there and like work for this guy where I'm making so much money. I could be my own boss and, that's when you got to take that leap, like.
Is that scary?
Oh, definitely, it's scary. When I decided to do that, I was kind of like in that boat that I'm talking about. I just got tired of like being told what to do, or not really so much told what to do. I've always been a team player. I'll never tell you no that I can't do it. I'm not going to do it or whatever. But if you're asking me to like do something, and I sit there and see a way to like make it happen better, productively, safely, and stuff like that, I'm going to share my opinion with you, and hopefully we're on the same page, and because what's good for me is good for you. It's good for business because we're on the same team. With the goal inside, with the deadline inside and stuff like that. But if you're asking me like, hey, stop what you're doing, give me a material list, and you still come and check the job for a material list, then why you stop me like on production? It's like, you're not really helping us out right here, or question me if I'm your main guy. Like I don't want to do that because that's kind of like frustrating, and it just seems like you're not confident in my decision making. Like, why are you asking? When I tell you we need this and that, and then you ask me like, what do we need this for? It's like, I don't. Then come over here, do your own list. Like, what? I don't want to deal with this, so I'm gonna do my own thing. So what happened was like I just kind of got tired with those things, different situations, and at that time I was working on weekends, for myself. So slowly I was establishing clientele, and my jobs were starting to get a little bit bigger than just like.
So you didn't just do it overnight, like, all right, I'm going to start my business tomorrow. You weren't like pissed off, I'm going to do my own thing.
No way, not even. It didn't start like that. After I came home from my unwanted vacation, I started, I wasn't doing what I was doing anymore for, my financial, offset balance or whatever income. So I just, I took what I already knew, because I've been in the construction trade for a while, and, I just started implementing on the weekends, the guys that I work with, like, hey, do you want this job? Somebody wants this and that done or whatever. You want to take it? We're too busy. I'm like, all right. So then that kind of trickled to like more jobs becoming bigger and longer. And after a while, I'll just like tell my boss, like, hey, I need to take Thursday, Friday off because I got like a 4-day job where they're going to pay me for 2 weeks of work. And you're going to sit there and pay me, that it's going to.
Were your bosses cool with it, or are they like, nah, man?
Well, yeah, they're cool about it, because they know when I show up, like I work. So, the boss that I had, he was cool and understanding about that stuff. They never really questioned what I was doing or whatever, but, it just kind of turned into that. And then when, things finally hit the fan, it's like, I'm not happy here either. You're going to have to like, now I'm put in a position where like, I'm asking you for more money to compensate all the headache and hassle that I have to deal with, or you're going to have to find somebody else. And finally, like one last situation, it's like, I'm not doing this anymore. You're going to have to find somebody else. And that's when I kind of like, I was looking for another company initially, but, at that time, all those years that I was working on the weekends, my job started getting bigger, and then I just jumped in and, from all those times that I established, those clienteles is like, where I was actually okay. I've been busy like this whole time since I left, with days off that I choose for myself, which are hardly ever, so.
You kind of make it on your own name too, right? Because it's probably word of mouth at first, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's word of mouth, so now
referrals
it's like,
or whatever.
Oh yeah, the referrals, they just like come like, hey, I got your name from so-and-so and this and that, and so, yeah, I just like totally make, and, like sometimes, I'll need help, like some labor help, so I have like, a couple, people I know come help me out, family or friends, whatever, that, might want to earn some extra money and, come out and help me out. And, but I, not to sit there and say that they just don't have the experience or whatever, so I just have to make sure that they do it the way I want them to do it, because, that is my reputation, and I am building a name for myself. So it's like, and I'm pretty patient with like, the guys that I have. I'm just like, hey man, like you got to do it this way, and and I'll show, because that's what I learned from the guys that taught me. They're patient with me, you know, when I was learning. It's like, hey, this is how you do it or whatever, and like I took all those lessons, from them, and then I added my own, style and discipline to it or whatever, and improved on my techniques and stuff like that.
Well, that's one thing I think that's real important about like working with your hands, whether it's like automotive or a lot of these kind of fields. Is that, again, that old thing that gets told to every kid, and I've been an educator for a lot of years, so I've said it to people, go to college, do this. It's just kind of like a rubber stamp, what you're supposed to do in life, but it's like, that's not for everybody. It doesn't fit everybody, and the economy can't survive if everyone's doing that. We need somebody to build our homes. We need someone to fix the electric and the plumbing in our homes.
Right.
We need people to do to work on our cars or to do the grading of the,
Right.
to do the sewage and the water infrastructure program. We need all of that stuff to be done. So someone's got to have those skills. And there's a lot of young people out there who I think if they went into that field, they would really feel invigorated by it, because it is a lot of like on your toes thinking. It is a lot of like freedoms, but at the same time, it's a lot of responsibilities put on you, and it's a very much a different mindset than I'm going to sit in a classroom for, the next 4 years, 5 years and have to repeat, that learning you got in high school. Some people didn't like that style of learning.
Right.
So to be able to learn with your hands and to go out and do things, and then like you said, to have the opportunity to become your own boss and to build yourself, I think that's a message that a lot of times is just like not given to our youth. And it sucks because like my son, he's graduating high school, and I, the question's always like, oh, what are you doing after high school? And I hear it from a lot of youth, they're like, oh, I'm going to college, and that's like the number one thing. I'm going to college, and then it's like, and it's sad because it's like if you're going to a really nice college, you're going to a UCLA or USC or something, and everyone's like, yeah, and then other kids who aren't going there but do have college dreams.
Right.
Well, I'm just going to a 4-year college. You hear them just say, well, I'm just gonna, like, they're putting themselves down. I'm just going to community college, and it's like, no, you could wind up at that big university too.
Right.
First 2 years are just your undergrad, your coursework. It's not, you're not less than that other kid. But we give that message to these kids, and then kids who don't want to do college at all, they're just like, well, I don't know, I'm just gonna figure it out, and you can just hear it in their voice. Parents have to feel bad about it, like their kids they didn't become something.
Right.
When the reality is, it's like, this isn't a finish line. They're just starting their life. Like they're all on even slates. I don't care if you're going to a 4-year college, you got a full ride. I don't care if you're a gifted athlete. I don't care if you're some valedictorian, or if you're a kid that smoked weed through all 4 years and passed. You got out with a D- average. Right. You're all clean slates as adults, and what you're going to become in the next 20 to 30 years really starts right there. Like, what are you going to become? Right. You can start from nothing, very humble, and build yourself to be a very well-off person, and well-adjusted. Not just money, but health and psychologically and all those things. And you can see people shot out of a cannon and burn out. Right. Like go 2-3 years in college and be like, I'm saying for me, and quit. Right. Fall off the deep end. And it's crazy just to see that as you get older, because when you're 18 you don't feel that. Right, of course. But so my son's turning 18, and I have that in my mind. I see it, and I'm like, wow, the things haven't changed. Like we still put that on our kids, So like I asked my son, like someone asked me, what's your son doing? I said, I don't even know. Like he had some stuff he told me he wanted to do, and I know in his mind he knows what he wants to do because that's just the way he is. Right. So he may not tell me, but I know he knows and I know he has a plan. Right. So I'm just like, I don't know. We'll see what he does. I've just purposely kind of been like, I don't know. Whatever he's gonna do, he's gonna do. I support him, and I know he'll do something. You know what I mean? But I'm not trying to bother him. Like, well, where are you going? Where's your application? Right. I want to put that pressure, but it's like, because what if he tells me, well, I'm gonna go build houses, or I'm gonna okay. I know some parents will be like, well, don't you want to go to college? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with either one of those things. Right. And I think, again, that's a message that we give our kids, which is messed up, because I don't think my son's going to go build houses, by the way. It's not his personality. Right. But if it's something we wanted to do, like, we should really I should support him, because you can get some real benefits out of that, Like, there's good physical benefits out of it. Like, you're talking about building yourself. I imagine that had to build your self-esteem, being able to be like, I'm my own boss. Yeah. That had to feel good.
It does, and sometimes it's, I got to sit there and just kind of look at it like, hey, you know what, I am my own boss, and at the end of the day, I make my own schedule. I could be as flexible as I want, but I'm still gear-driven, because, like, I feel like I should have kind of, like, started sooner, I'm kind of in a place where I should have been maybe, like, 5-6 years ago, and, financially, and, all that stuff, like, also for my kids, because you sit there and see, like, some parents that are, like, my age and, got the toys, and the kids are young and stuff like that.
Buying their kids all Mercedes.
But my kids are all, like, older and stuff like that, so I feel like, if I could have went back, and done it, like, maybe 7 years ago, like, I'd probably be a little bit further than I'm at now, but, I'm not in a bad place, and it does feel good to sit there and, be my own boss and, actually I don't know, just I guess like run my own ship, you know, like I was saying earlier, you know, and
Yeah.
like nobody tells me what to do, you know, and I work with my clients, so it's not like they're the boss of me either. I work with them, you know. It's like, hey, you know, this is like my dream, this is what I want to build, so all right, yeah, I'll help you build it. Like, what do you want? Let's make it happen. You know?
Make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird you bring up time like that because I'm, you know, time is, I feel like it's such a weird thing for natives especially, and because, you know, first off, we don't tend to age a lot, you know, like you'll see somebody and you're like, man, that person seems like they look the same my whole life. How old are they? You find out they're like really old, you're like, damn, they look good, they don't age, you know? And then they do age and then they look that way forever, you know, like, but anyways, so there's that, and then the other part of that too is like, I know on the res here, like the average age of death is 42. I don't know if you knew that, but they did a study a while back on that.
Wow.
42, you know, and it's, you don't think about that when
young, man.
that's young as heck, man. That's scary to think
right
that in
around
this
the corner for
community,
me.
you know, and it's like we, you know, that's something you have always helped too with our community is always going in and digging and
Yeah.
and helping out. You know, you grew up in this community, and as part of that, you know, we're all supposed to help out the best way we can, and that's one way. I know you do a lot of that work, but yeah, man, 42 is the age that the average age of death on our res, and I don't think of my res as being all violent or like all crazy or
Yeah.
it's just people that go kind of early, you know, and it's,
Right.
and so you think about that, and I go, well, damn, in Alpine the average age jumps like 30 years older or something like that, and it's 10 minutes away.
How's that right?
That's so that's crazy to
Yeah.
think like if you live in this community versus 10 minutes away, like there's such a gap in like how long you're gonna make it. To me, it's scary, and I think about that with time because it's like, man, all those dreams, aspirations, like we want to build for our
Right.
kids and grandkids.
Right.
It's like a lot of times our windows are a lot smaller than you know, we don't got 70 years to do that. We might only have 40 years to do that, you know, and it's like that's a trip. So when I think of time, I think of that. Same time, you know, you could be on the res, and I learned this at school, you know, I was chilling on the res with everybody, whatever,
Yeah.
and they go to school, and I was in the books,
Right.
got my bachelor's, master's, you know, got a career, all this and that. Seemed like 10 years went by, like a
Fast,
blink,
oh,
dude,
right.
like a blink, and I was like, whoa, I still looked the same, felt the same, I was kind
Right.
of healthy, and then, but it'd been a lot of years, and then when I go around the res and hang around, it's like, ain't nothing changed, dude, like, everyone who is kind of chilling, still kind of chilling. You know, that's why I tell a lot of kids on the res. I'm like, you know, go do what you're gonna do because when you come back, a lot of things are gonna be this. You're not gonna miss out,
Right.
man. You know, a lot of people just do what that's their life. That's what they do. You know, they're not gonna change. You're not gonna miss it. The res parties they'll still be there. You know,
Right.
and a lot of the same people will still be there,
Yes.
and they'll look the exact same in 10 years because we don't age. You know, it's a trip. I always just think of the time like that. Like we're in a weird time warp on the res in a lot of ways. But yeah, that little statistic always trips me out. I feel like,
Yeah,
dang,
that is a
dude.
trip.
I hope we're
That's
changing
right, that's
it.
right around the corner for us too, you know.
Yeah, it's scary, huh?
Yeah.
Like, dang, man.
You know what's crazy too is like starting and getting, you know, just like a year ago, starting off and you know doing my own thing and stuff like that, and you know I feel like I should be further, but I'm actually on a good path to where I want to be, and you know I have admiration and you know goals for myself, you know, and you know for something like that right around the corner is kind of scary because I feel like I'm just barely starting my life, you know,
Yeah.
this later in my life, you know, I'm just like, oh man, you know, and I'm a believer and I'm a dreamer of my own, you know, goals and dreams, you know, and so that's what keeps me up and going, you know, and you know, I just, you know, the average thing it is scary, you know, it's like right around the corner. I'm like trying to start my life going here.
I think you'll make it. You'll double
Yeah.
that. I think you will, man. I really do.
Yeah.
'Cause you take care of yourself, and you're involved in things that are, you know, you're gonna last a long time. You know, get up, and go to work. You're probably gonna last longer than if you're all rezzed out, partied out somewhere.
You know, one of the
I
things
see.
that I remember and I'll never forget is from my one of my bosses, the one that actually like put me on in 2010, that I learned a lot from, and we're sitting there working, and we're working at an older lady's house or whatever, and you know, I was just like sitting there thinking to myself, you know, I'm just like, man, I can't wait to retire and this and that, but then you know, we're working at this lady's house, and you know, I'm just like, well, if I retire, then what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna like sit here and like cruise around. If I'm not established, which I'm not, and you know I'm not now, but you know I was even less then. You know at that time I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna sit there and cruise around the house and just like wither away and just like die. I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to retire. I'm not ready for that. I need to
Yeah.
like kick up my life and you know get it started or whatever. And you know what I remember my old boss saying, he's all like, hey, he's all, you know what? if you don't use it, you lose it, you know. And you know, I give like a lot of respect to that guy. His name is Scott Jennings, man. He taught me like a lot of stuff that I know, and you know, there's nothing that dude would not do. Like there's nothing that he wouldn't do himself that he asked me to do. Like, hey, can you do this? And he'd crawl underneath the house. And you know, when I met him, he was like 62 years old now, so he's like probably 70, and he bikes down at the beach, and you know, he does all the same stuff. You know, he's still like, even though he's retired, he still like fixes stuff around his house. We have a couple properties down there in National City, and goes over there and tinkers on his stuff, fixes his own stuff, and smart dude. You know, I just like tripped out, and I have like a lot of respect for him. But that's something that stuck with me. You know, it's like, hey, if you don't use it, you lose it, because like once you stop moving, and you see people like that retire that just like are not going to work anymore, and they just start deteriorating. You know, their body falls apart because they're not moving around no more. It's like, oh wow, that's a trip. I'm just like, yeah. So that kind of stuck to me. So I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not ready to retire. You know, I'm not gonna retire young. You know, I'll probably always be like active. You know, physically. You know.
Yeah, you want to be that old guy that's still out there, and everyone's telling like, hey, take it easy. But you see it around. You see a lot of old timers that were like still in there trying to do stuff, and they're still hanging. You know, I ran into an elder today actually, Carmen Lucas. I don't know if you heard, out of Laguna. Her dad is Tom Lucas, the late Tom Lucas, Kwame.
Yeah.
And but she's, I mean, I don't want to throw her age out on blast, but I know she's like in her late 80s.
Yeah.
But you know, like she's so active, dude. She'll go still walk 2-3 miles. She's probably physically like in her 50s, I bet. I don't know. And it was good to see her, you know, but I was just like, man, this lady does not age. Like my whole life she's been old, you know, but she just like, if she's around, she don't sit down, she'll stay standing. And, you know, like, you know, if you go, oh, you know, we help, she'll, no, I'm okay, you know, she's always like just active like that.
Right.
My mom's kind of like that too. She bounces around, you know, and she always says, you know, if she's hurting, she don't acknowledge it, she just continues on, and just, because she says once you slow down, you know, I mean, she'll say that about people, she'll go, you know, they let themselves get old, you know, they're not even old yet, they want to act old, and then they do get old, they get hurt and injured, and then they can't reverse it.
Right. Well, you see that even with people our own age, you know, even the generation, you know, younger than us, you sit there and see them just kind of like not take care of themselves. And, you know, besides like staying active or whatever, like the biggest thing to it too is just like, you know, having less health problems. You know, if you're sitting there active or whatever, you're going to make less trips to the doctor and stuff like that because you're taking care of yourself, you know, you're being active, you know. So I think that's, for me, that's important, because I don't want to sit there and, you know, think about like my health and stuff like that. I gotta go to the doctors because I can't breathe, or, you know, have high blood pressure and all stuff like that. I can prevent that, you know, and work helps me do that. But, you know, something that I have to know within myself is, you know, like, hey, I gotta take care of myself and still go running and keep the heart rate going and, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's important to me. It is, you know, I want to live a, you know, life, you know, a pretty long, healthy life, you know.
It's definitely like a quality of life investment, you know. You want to have a good quality of life when you're older. And my dad was saying that, you know, he used to say that back in the day. He would tell me, like, he would say, like, you know, a lot of the people that were around that were older, still pretty agile, he'd say, well, you know, those people all worked when they were younger. They worked with their hands, or physical, they did things. And he said a lot of people who don't do those things, they don't make it to be old because they just, you know, their bodies give out. They never had, you know, they don't have that cardio built up, so their heart isn't that strong.
Right.
They're, you know, they're not doing physical stuff, so when they hurt their leg, it doesn't heal right and stuff. And so they start to be immobile, and the next thing you know, it's like their organs are going out. And so he said, so if you work around, you know, even if you're not crazy good shape, you know, if you kind of just stay physical, it's better. And so for him, he was riding his motorcycle until he had a stroke and everything. You know, my parents are in their 70s, but you know, he was pretty active up until that. You know, even if he'd go out and make gourds and just kind of build stuff, he was building like benches. He's retired, you know, but he's building like benches and like chairs just to kind of stay active, go out and do a project for a couple hours a day at least, you know, and just to keep himself physical like that. And my mom, she's like that. You go over there any day of the week and she's up doing something. I can't think of it, unless my mom's sick, which is rare, but I can't think of a time I've gone over and my mom's just laying around. Like, I can't even think of any time she's done that. She's always up doing something. My mother-in-law's like that too. She's like all over, just doing something, you know. I'll go lay on the couch, so, you know, I want to make sure the couch is getting used.
My mom was like that. You know, I credit some of my work ethic to my mom. You know, I remember growing up and, you know, we didn't have a whole lot of money, you know, nobody really did up here, you know, everybody was kind of broke and, you know, welfare and all that stuff.
Pre-casino days, man.
Yeah, and, you know, my mom would want to sit there fence, and my mom would get out there and get the handsaw, and, you know, here, put your foot on there, and she'd be like, with their foot, and then she'd take nails and pull them out of the boards, and she'd sit there and show me, like, here, straighten them out, and just like, ting, 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 straighten the nail back out and use it, and, yeah, my mom was tough. I used to trip out, you know, she was a hard-working woman, you know, she'd sit there and do all kinds of stuff, and Saturdays, you know, like, these days, man, these kids will sit there and sleep till like 12, 1 o'clock if you let them.
Staring at the cameraman, Ryan. Oh,
yeah.
I'm just kidding, man.
No, man, it's just like, man, like, at least once a month, man, my mom never let us sleep in, you know, like, hey, get up, like, get out of the house, do something, clean up, and, you know, there's a lot of things that I credit my mom for, you know, about, like, you know, she, you know, watch her cook, and, you know, when she'd take off for, you know, the Saturday or whatever, go, you know, shopping, you know, I'd sit there and want to cook for myself, you know, and I'd sit there and see her and, you know, steal her recipes. Like, I have my mom's recipes, you know, because I just, like, watch her, and I wanted to learn for myself. And so I'd be in the kitchen after, like, my cousins and uncles would eat leftovers, whatever. I'd be in there, like, cooking the kitchen, and, man, I didn't know better at the time, but I'd be all scratching the pan, you know, with the metal spatula and the Teflon, and I'd try to put everything back because my mom was particular.
Yeah.
And I kind of get that too, you know, and, you know, I think I'm all like slick and put everything back. Oh, man, my mom would be pissed. She's like, who the hell was using my pan? Who scratched it all up? I'm like, oh, I didn't know that till like I was older and I got a pan set. I'm like, oh, man, these things are, I'm not using those metal spatulas. Now I know why my mom was all pissed.
Running all the pots and pans.
Yeah, but my mom, you know, she would do all that kind of stuff. Like on Saturdays, you know, she wouldn't let us sleep in, and you know, we'd go out there and have to clean the whole freaking yard and everything. And my uncle, he used to wrench on, you know, cars, so there'd be motors and parts everywhere. We'd have to sit there and organize them. Oh yeah, like my mom didn't mess around, and no stone was ever like left unturned, you know, like, and she was like really thorough about cleaning, like. Refrigerator got pulled out, like everything got dusted, pictures, everything got wiped down, like, oh man, it was like a deep cleaning, but, you know, because of that, you know, I
built that work ethic up.
Yeah, but I do that too with my own place,
Yeah.
you know, like sometimes I let it slide or whatever, but I'm just like, oh, this house gotta be, I'm just like, dang, that's my mom coming out of me sometimes.
Yeah, my parents are like that too. It might be, my mom was always clean every weekend. When, like, if we were home, it was like, all right, get everybody up and clean it. But my dad, he kind of, you know, he was always working. He was a firefighter, so it was 3 days on, 3 days off, or whatever the schedule was. And then, but when he was home, I think sometimes he just didn't want to hear my mom, like, you know, want to clean and stuff. So he'd wake us up, like, it'd be early, like, he'd just kick the bed, get up, and like, whoa, what? Like, disoriented, you know?
Yeah.
And I always knew if I'd smelled, like, pancakes, I'd be like, oh, dude. I like pancakes, but I used to hate the smell. I'd get up, be like, go in there, he'd have the whole breakfast set up, hurry up and eat. We got things to do, but like, so start eating, you know, and
try
you
to
know,
take your time, eat all
yeah, and he would, you know, some people like my brother Beef, and all of us in snow, and we'd all be there eating whatever, and then be like, all right, we're going to cut wood. Was pancakes? I knew we were going to cut wood because he was like, you need to have those calories. We'd go somewhere, and it was like, take the tree down, and we'd tow it out, and then, you know, him and Beef would be on the saws, you know, they'd saw it up, and you know, I was young, so I'd have to go get all the limbs and clean it. It was just like a whole day of work, dude. It was just like work, like getting up at like 5 or 6, and then get home. And,
no idea, man. No idea.
And then it was like
I remember splitting wood
all the time, dude. And it was like when I was older, I would split it by hand a little bit, but when I was younger is when we were really splitting a lot of wood, and it was like my brothers, they would split wood, and Beef was good, dude. You
guys have a big old tree trunk, and then just take one.
Yeah, put one on top of it, boom,
and get a wedge.
Yeah, the wedges, and
you know what, I like doing that.
I had a
as
stack.
Kid,
that was my thing. Yeah,
I like doing that as a kid. I don't know. I didn't mind it. You know, it's just like, I'm gonna sit there and try to break this in one whack, and whack, like go fly. Like, yeah, it'd be a little bit dangerous, but yeah.
I had my own little maul, but I'd break the handle because I sucked. I was a little guy.
Yeah.
But I remember like my brother, dude, my brother Ronnie. But Beef was really good. He would like split, like he'd go through with the pile. So sometimes I would just have to be over there and like I'll be stacking it, you know. And but as I got older, you know, then I was starting to get better at it.
Yeah, right.
It was weird though, because like right when I was like maybe senior in high school, junior, senior, I was getting ready to move out and everything.
Yeah.
And then that's when my dad went and bought a gas-powered splitter. Well, what was this? I never even knew they made those. What is this thing? Because we just split by hand.
Right.
I tell my wife that, she's like, oh yeah, right. I'm like, I swear, dude, I never even knew what a gas-powered splitter was until my dad.
Like, man, it takes forever to cut a piece of 2x4.
What the heck, dude? It was
Now they're
rough.
like, brr, brr. Like, oh man, where was this at? Yeah, I remember when I bought my first freaking skill saw at the Alpine hardware store, and freaking I was all cutting branches, man, and I had the guard up because I was just knucklehead and not really know such things. And I was working for the Forest Service, but, you know, I didn't have no chainsaw. I just had this thing because, you know, I always like tinkering and put stuff together. I'd take stuff apart sometimes. I remember taking apart a TV just to see how it worked, and I still had it plugged in, and I was back there looking at something. I stuck a screwdriver in there, and I hit a fuse or something, and I ended up, like, turning off the power to the whole house, and my mom already knew, like, that I was messing with something because that's how it was. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, put the TV back together. Like, nothing. What happened? Try to play it off, but... Yeah, I remember just with the saw, you know, I'm like trying to cut these branches, and I had the guard all pinned back and everything, and I cut it, and I dropped the freaking saw, and oh man, I was wearing chaps, thank God, you know.
Dang.
I freaking, whoa, I cut myself like a little bit, but yeah.
You didn't take your leg off, that's brutal, dude.
But yeah, like I was wearing the Forest Service chaps, I took them home, you know, so I was like, yeah.
That's a cool thing though, when you work for like Forest Service or an agency, they show you all the safety protocols.
Yeah.
So I remember my dad would do a lot of different things when we cut wood, you know, or like when we towed something, he'd put like the sleeve over the chain. I'd be like, where did you even learn this stuff? But I didn't realize until later that he learned that all from like working, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a hot shot one year, but he, you know, worked for Cleveland National, and then he went to CDF, California Department of Forestry.
Oh, nice.
But now that's Cal Fire,
right,
and that's where he retired from. But it's like, yeah, he had all these like little safety things, how you're supposed to do stuff, you know. And he still has his chainsaw over there from like, I swear it's a steel, one of those orange steels.
Oh,
I think that chainsaw's older than I am.
Right.
But like, yeah, about 6 months before he had a stroke, he was out sawing. He had a new chainsaw, and he pulled that one out, and that thing was still just working like good as ever.
Really, the old
I
one?
was like, damn, that's a good chainsaw. Yeah. I mean, it's probably 30-year-old chainsaw, still working. He used to always be cutting. You know, he put the new blades on and stuff, whatever, the bar and everything, and he'd maintain it. He took care of his stuff, you know. Same thing like with guns and stuff. He'd always be taking care of all the, you know, like me, I'd go shoot them, but like I don't want to sit there and clean them and everything.
Apart,
but he would just make a day out of like cleaning all the guns, or you know, sharpening up the chainsaw chain, and you know, oiling it up, and you know, maintenance, you know, doing all that kind of stuff. He'd make a day out of all that.
You know what's cool is dropping trees, man. That's something
that's an art too.
It is, and it could be dangerous, man. You can mess yourself up, like if you don't know what you're doing. But
I like all the videos online where they drop them on the houses and cars. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, when I was with the Forest Service, we're doing some project work, and we're at one of the stations out there, and you know, I was already a freaking you know, lead sawyer or whatever. We're sitting there dropping trees or whatever. So, like, hey, we need to drop this tree, and it was like between like the shed and like the building. It's pretty cool though to sit there and be able to like sit there and drop it, and you know, put a soda can out there and just like drop it right on the soda can. It's like, man, that's bad, you know. It's like, just like come crashing down. It's cool. It's a cool feeling.
Yeah, man, that's gnarly. That's a cool thing about like, and I don't want to hammer on it too much, but I know like, you know, a lot of reses that are doing kind of well. You see a population of people that don't work, you know, and it's like. And the youth especially coming up, it's like, to me it's a good message just to be like, man, go get a job, go get a quirky job, dude. Go work at a gas station, go work at a supermarket, or go do firefighting, or because it's not about the money, dude. It's like, it's fun. You meet people, you have these experiences, and you learn random stuff that you don't think you'd ever want to learn, or have these experiences, like dropping a tree. Like, you've never dropped a tree or been around one. It might sound like work, and it is, but like, that's a cool experience to see a tree go down that you chopped, you know, and to be able to, you know, to cut that, and make those cuts, to drop it in a certain location. Dude, that's a cool skill to have, and it's just a cool experience.
Well, that kind of stuff right there, I think, you know, is kind of like, you know, they kind of go hand in hand, like with like survival skills, you know, if like something happened and, you know, you had like an axe or something like that you'd be able like to physically and figure out how to like build a shelter or something like that, because it's construction. It's all construction. It's all construction.
I thought you were going to go in the direction of like, if the zombies are coming, you know how to swing it.
I'm not into that conspiracy theory.
We know that's what COVID's doing. It's really making us into zombies.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like, these are all great experiences, you know. That's one thing I like talking about Beef too, because like, man, you listen to him, you're like, damn, I want to go be a firefighter too, because he's got all these crazy stories, you know, about this happened, and we got burned over, and he has all these characters, you know. Well, they're real people, but to me, they're like characters in a movie or something. But it's like, you get that from every field of employment and stuff, you know, and the ability to be like, and for me, I know when I earn a paycheck and I go out cash that and I go buy food, have dinner, whatever it is, it's a really good feeling to be like, damn, I earned this.
Right.
Like I earned this. It really builds your self-esteem. It makes you feel good. And you do get these like goals in life, like, oh, you know what, I do want to improve at this. I do want to go there. I want to try something new. I want to build. And I think that right there makes you want to be more motivated to take care of your health, make good decisions that's not going to wind you up in jail or wherever.
Right.
That's not going, you're going to put yourself in good positions. And I think to stay alive and stay healthy. And I think that, I was talking about that 42 earlier, or 3, whatever the number, I think it's 42 and a half, but, the average age of death and all that. And I think sometimes some of our youth and some of our people have lived in great despair, we have a lot of bad history, we have a lot of trauma and things like that.
Right.
And so, I think of course that's a huge part of it. I don't want to get away from that, but I think some of it too is like you're 18 or 19, and it's so easy to fall into that quote unquote res life. You're not doing much, and that way life is not healthy, dude. You go on those bingers and you're out partying out for a couple years, which means like 3-4 days of the week you're out, you're hitting it, and you're just living an unhealthy life. You're not eating good.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at some people, and I don't want to throw nobody's name, throw anybody under the bus, but I can think of people that I remember them looking at them and going, dude, I don't know that they're gonna make it. They look bad.
Yeah.
And then they get their life together, and and they're back in shape. And like, oh man, you look good, and it's like it's cool to see them make it and get to that point. But some people don't make it there. Some people go through that binger and they don't make it.
Yeah.
They're done, and it's like we're burying them. It sucks, dude. I hate that.
The res life is a little bit tough. I grew up here and stuff like that, and have friends and people I consider family here and stuff, and it's a bubble. It's easy to get caught up in, especially with the money flowing and stuff like that, and everybody's partying, and it took me getting kicked off the res for me to kind of figure my stuff out. Like I always kind of was borderline, like teetering, like what I was gonna do. I'm just like I can't do what everybody on the res is doing because I don't get per capita like that. But it took me getting off, kicked off the res, and then trying to be there for my kids and stuff like that, and my kids too being like something that I always wanted to do was like be a good dad for my kids. So it's like all these things kind of equated. Even though I made a couple choices that kind of challenged my life or made it more difficult, I always kind of knew what I needed to do. But getting away from the res is what kind of helped me go that way. I did, take a couple left turns or whatever, and end up in some bad places. But I was able to prevail and get away from that because I still had that work ethic. Because I knew in the back of my mind, like I can't stop working. I don't get money like that. This is my life. Nobody's gonna hand it to me or give it to me. So I have to sit there and even though this is my consequence now for like the choices I made, I could get out of this, it's not the end of the world, but I have to sit there and see it through that, I come out on the other side of this, so, back to what you're saying, just being on the res is like a little bit different. It's easy to get caught up and be wrapped up in that bubble here,
Yeah, it is, man, and it's a bummer to see when people don't get that opportunity to come out the other side and make something themselves. I mean, a lot of one thing I've learned, and like when you're young, you see people and you just assume they've always been that way. One thing I've learned is that like a lot of these leaders, and whether they're political leaders or cultural leaders or elders, like they've been through it too, and they'll be the first to tell you like, man, I used to do this, that, and whatever, and I got wrapped up in this, or I made this bad mistake, and you're like, oh wow, like you don't seem like a person that would do that because I know you was being established. I know you was being respectful, or we're all, I come up and shake your hand like I don't know you to be, but if you really ask them or them, that they've been through some things and they've made those bad choices, but they were able to weather that storm and get there. And it's like there's people along the way who don't get that chance, and so that's why I think like again I got kids that are coming at that age where I'm like, dang man. I don't want to see them go down any of those roads where they don't make it.
Right.
That's my biggest fear as a parent. I want them to stay, I want them to stay humble, don't get me wrong, but I want them to build themselves up and have goals and aspirations. And not my aspirations, but theirs, so I know that they're happy. And I want to make sure that, I want them to have a message, that go find what you are, or try to figure it out, and go work hard at it. Be willing to work hard at it, be willing to take a chance. And it doesn't necessarily have to be college, and if it is that great. But if it's not, okay, don't be lazy, don't be sleep, like let's
Right.
make it happen,
Right.
take that chance. My son wants to be in culinary arts, that's what he was going to go to school for that. I think he still is, but cooking and whatnot and all that. But like, and the other thing too is I told him, I was like, well, what do you want to do? And a couple of years ago, he goes, oh, I want to work in a restaurant, maybe be a chef. And I said, that's cool. I said, but son, you should probably want to own a restaurant.
Right.
So if you want a chef, cool, go be a chef. But if you don't want a chef, you don't have to be a chef. You can be a chef on Tuesday and relax and go play golf on Wednesday or whatever. But that's a message I'm trying to give him too, is like be an owner. But you don't just get to snap your fingers and I'm an owner. You got to learn that. Go wait tables and bus and with all the little steps and learn everything you can. Be an eager learner. And I think if we tell our youth that, like if you're into whatever it is, go be an eager learner, work hard at it, be devoted, go be passionate about it. I just feel like some of these kids who don't go to college or don't go the traditional routes, like I think sometimes they don't have nothing better to do, so they're just like, screw it, Rez life, let's go blaze it up or whatever, And it's like maybe if we said instead like find your passion and follow it, then that might invigorate them to set those goals and do healthier things and be more motivated and have a purpose to like live, dude.
Right.
Sometimes I run into people and when they're young, and I can remember being young and having friends where I know they just didn't seem to have purpose,
Right, just existing.
Yeah, just existing, and then you see them going through some craziness, and you're just like, damn, man. And then whenever they go through that gets into that click where it's like, okay, now I have a purpose.
Right.
Boom, they just shoot out a cannon, they do well. And then they're the next generation elders, or whatever.
Right.
But you got to get there. I don't know.
Yeah. I think, for like myself too, it's just like, I've always knew that I wanted to do something with myself. Like I said, nothing was going to be handed to me. But yeah, you're right about, finding a purpose or whatever, something that, is going to, have you, prosper in life, and, like you said, find that purpose, for me, this is what I like doing, and, I like my job. I like getting up and going to work. Yeah, some days are physical and, I get my ass handed to me and I'm like a little bit sore or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
the moon is falling
it's all worth it, the rewards are worth it, because I am my own boss. But, back to what you're saying, that thing about feeling good about, some of the stuff you achieved or are achieving. Like for me, one of the biggest purchases I've ever made in my life was my work truck. But, that's for work. But you know what? Sometimes it's surreal that I own like a vehicle like that, because had I thought that I was going to own something like that when I was in my younger days, not even, But to sit there and now it's like my everyday vehicle and I show up, it looks professional and I could be proud of that. It's like, hey, you know what? I've earned this, and, I should be proud of that. Sometimes I forget because like I do try to make keep myself humble about where I'm at. Some people are like, hey, you do so great. It's like, yeah, but I still want more for myself, because there's more for me out there, and that's just one of my goals, to sit there. I want to get into flipping houses. I want to invest in property. There's also too, I want to get back to the community. I know as a young parent, and some things were my own mistakes, and I could have done differently, but my kids, is something that I've always had to fight for, even till this day I still have to fight for like custody, and it's affected our relationship, and that's something that's always kind of like bothered me. But at that age when I was young, I didn't know which way to turn as far as like resources and how to get out of the funk, or like where could I go for being a young dad and trying to fight for custody of my kids. I didn't know any of the legal system or nothing like that. So along with this whole construction stuff, eventually when I do get to the point where I can invest into property or something like that, maybe like a small apartment, fix it up and make it like a housing for men that are in that same situation that don't know how to turn, or maybe they do have drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and are looking for help and they have kids young and things are not working out for them, like get with different resources or people that can help them get education and give them this place that will have like a home for them to sit there and have their kids or whatever, as long as like there's some like rules or guidelines for them to fit in this criteria for them to sit there and be dads to their kids. Because some dudes go through this stuff and they don't really know how to get the help or look for it, and they turn to, you know, drugs and alcohol, and next thing you know, they're just going down this road and can't get back. And you know, when they want, like, you know, like every, you know, like most of the dudes I know, like they want to be good dads to their kids, you know.
Yeah.
A lot, you know, some of us didn't grow up with dads. I didn't grow up with a dad, so like before I even had kids, like, yeah, I want to be the best dad I could be, you know. I didn't have those resources or didn't know how to like find them or, you know, see them out. So, you know, that's something that I want to get back to the community, like later on when I kind of get established, I'm able to do so, you know, to sit there and take, you know, something and give, you know, these younger guys an opportunity. And I think that contributes to society, you know, dads that are raising their kids. You know, statistics show that they fare a little bit better than, you know, kids in broken homes, you know. Not saying that kids in broken homes won't, you know, prosper and stuff like that, but, you know, I think, you know, if, you know, kids are in, you know, with their dads or, you know, whatever, be a little bit, you know, contribute a little bit better to society, you know, not running amok, you know, because they got, like, that father figure, you know.
Absolutely. You know, it's a skill, man. That's one thing that, like, I think people from time, like, I have 5 kids, and I was just talking to my wife about this, because, again, my son's turning 18, so it's, like, all on my brain. He just had his birthday last week. But, so he is 18 now. Wait, I better kick him out. But, it's time to get out. Yeah. But, no, you know, I remember being, like, scared. Like, dang, dude, like, I don't know that I could, like, we could do this. And my wife was like, we're scared. Like, how do we take care of this kid, you know? Like, this is our life now. Like, we mess up, he ain't gonna make it. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta try to make good decisions. And it's like, you know, I did have a dad. I did have male models around and stuff, so I had people to go to and help and everything. Same time, like, their generation's different.
Right.
You know, me changing all these diapers, you know, everyone's like, was looking at it. A lot of people look at me sideways, like, wow, man, you're changing diapers? And it's like, yeah, man, I want to try to do everything I can. And so my parenting style was a little bit different than
that generation was different though. My
yeah.
mom kind of like, you know, not shunned or whatever. It's like, hey, you know, why are you coming home and cooking and cleaning and you know that's a lady's job, and that's like that. That's that age gap though, that generation gap though, because that's that traditional thing. Like a woman belongs in the kitchen, but you know, society's changed. You know, that's the old ways. You know, so it's like, hey, you know, women are bringing, you know, bringing money to the table too, you know, so it's like kind of like more of an equal thing, you know, and you know the older generation.
Trust me, I know. My wife's on council. My wife's on council.
Don't you know I'm on council?
Don't you know I'm on council? I'm like, okay, here we go. So how do you want your tortillas, honey? Hey, you want them thick or thin?
You got your apron on.
But it's true though, man. Changing times, but you know, again, they don't. I mean. Man, most of the dudes I know are trying to be good dads. You know? Even the ones that are terrible, most of them are trying. But again, it doesn't just click in your brain like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. It's a learning process. Being a father is a skill. It's a skill set. You got to learn how to do all these things. And, you know, and it takes patience, and it takes someone teaching a little bit. It takes a guy wanting to learn, of course. But you know, someone's got to show that guy how to change a diaper or to prioritize their budget. Yeah. You know, like you get money, like, hey, make sure your kids got shoes, make sure they got diapers, make sure... You know, it's not like everybody automatically thinks like that. You have to show them that, you know. When you have your first, to me, where you learn that is when you have your first kid and everyone starts giving you all this random stuff and you're like, oh yeah, you know, I guess a baby or a wipe warmer is cool, you know, something that's going to warm up the baby wipes. but you know, like, oh yeah, a changing pad, you know, we could put it up. But then by the time you have your 5th kid, you're like, you got paper towels, you know what I mean? Like, changing your kid on your lap, you know,
you already got the skills, like, you got this figured out. We've done this 4 or 5 times.
Change your kid on the back of a tailgate, you know, you don't care, you know what I mean? It's like you just learn that, and like our the bag we used to take around, you know, we had like just a big duffel bag, baby
diapers,
bag,
diapers, extra clothes, extra bottles,
everything.
Formula.
The last kid, dude, I just would take like a little pack of wipes and like 2 diapers and like, he can eat when he gets back. You know? No, but we would like, the bag was super small, you know, but you just learn like what you need and don't need, you know, and it's like skills. But again, you don't want to push anybody to where they're just like, screw it, you know, and that's like, you know, if you do develop that and that becomes a thing, that would be so powerful, because there are a lot of young fathers, I think, that do go to that point where they're just like, you know what, screw it. Yeah. And then they just step out of the life of their kid, and that's so sad because they don't realize the generational hurt they're creating. Yeah. When they could have been that person to really, you know, benefit that kid, their own kid. And, you know, and I get that, there's them and their baby mama might be having beef, or the other family, or maybe even their own family, or their circumstance. We get it, nothing is ever perfect.
Yeah.
But again, to get to that point where a guy's just like, you know what, I tried, screw it. Like, you don't want him to get there if you can help it. So if there's something that could show them those skills, make it a little bit easier, guide them a little bit, and maybe get them started on that road.
Right.
And the kid's an infant as opposed to when they're 12, 13, and they're like, hey son, I want to have this conversation with you. And the kid's like, nah man, I don't know you, square up. That's not healthy. So that would be cool, man. I hope that works out for you.
Because from my experience, I kind of went through that, and at the time, sitting there, being up here on the res and stuff like that, partying and everything like that, I didn't really realize it until after that time had passed. I'm just like, man, you know what? I was self-medicating, man. I was sitting there drinking and smoking weed and all that stuff, and I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to get there, and so that was part of my struggle. Like I said, getting kicked off the res and making a few bad turns is just like, man, you know what? Like, this is, now that I think about it, it's like, man, that's why I just didn't, because I felt like I just kept on wanting to say, F it, and just do whatever I want to do, and forget that I even had kids, but deep down inside, I couldn't live with myself, without fighting for them. So. That's why I think it's important to me, to be able to, because I went through that and didn't know where to turn or whatever. So yeah, something that's in my sight of something I want to do here, and maybe I'll get with different people that want to contribute, or nonprofit organization. But I got to figure out how to go about it, and but that's the basis. That's the consensus of trying to help out.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the vision, and time and hard work and effort, it'll bring it together. But you have a vision, man. I think it's a good one. It's powerful. That's, and we always focus on the moms, which is really important too. But we do got to remember the guys, the dads. They're an important piece to all of that. And sometimes I think about my own dad and what he's done for me. I didn't appreciate half of that stuff, even when I was 19, 20. And I was always butting heads with him in high school and when I got out of the house because. He's his own man to his own home, and he earned that right. Like I said, he was retired and stuff, and I was 17, so I knew everything there was to know in the world.
We all did.
You know what I mean? And I was like, I ain't have nobody telling me what to do. So, but as I gotten older, and especially now that my kids are older, my boys are older, it's like, man, dude, I can't appreciate enough, the little things that him kicking my bed saying, let's get up and go cut wood. That's, I don't do a lot of physical stuff these days as much, so I can appreciate having those experiences, knowing what it feels like to get a sliver under my nail, or get, different things like that. And it's having that work ethic, 'cause that's where I got my work ethic too, was from my parents, and be able to get up and go to work. And I know that it's hard for people who don't have that work ethic just to hold any kind of job. Because to be like, wait a minute, I've worked 2 weeks and got my check, I still have to come back on Monday? It's like, you got a job, keep it rolling, stack them chips. You don't spend it all on, don't get your check and go buy a bunch of toys. You know what I mean? Maybe save some of that. Maybe invest some of that. Or my nephew, he's trying to start something up with. He's got a weed, or he's out weeding. And and I was talking to his mom. I said, you should really be telling him to save that money and go buy maybe a chainsaw, or go buy
some equipment.
Buy some more equipment. Invest in himself. Develop this thing. And go buy, develop a logo, put it on a shirt. It looks more professional. Kind of start to teach him how to market a little bit. And he's not too young to learn these skills. Maybe he's 22, 23. He'll have his own business. Right now he's still in high school, but you don't learn that overnight. You got to start to develop that stuff. And it's hard times. Right now with all the COVID and the corona. My kids, I woke up middle of the night and it was I'm not even joking. It was 4 a.m. I was cause I'm a light sleeper. I wake up. I'm like, somebody's in the house. Something's going on. And I can kind of hear a conversation. Then I hear another voice, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? I got up, walked in, looked out, and half my kids were up. What the hell are you guys doing? They're all still awake, one was playing video games, one's talking to someone online, they're doing all these chat. And I'm like, look, dude, I don't know what you guys, you need to go to sleep.
I'm the same way.
But they come to find out, I guess they were like, no, all their friends are up, everybody's up. I guess all the kids have been staying up late because they don't have school. And it's gotten progressively worse where they just stay up till midnight, and the next night it's 2, and then, so for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, these guys are staying up all night, And then in the morning, I'm getting up, going to work, doing my thing, coming home,
sleeping.
and they're still sleeping. I'm like, no, you better get up.
Yeah.
So I had to get them outside and start, slaving them out into some weed whacking.
Telling you, generation's different this
but,
day and age, but also too, the generation's different, technology, internet, there's like a lot more things to be entertained by, like, back then we had freaking rotary phones, like, one phone for the whole house, and, there's a phone bill to be paid, and mom was not happy when the phone bill came and it was like super high, like, yeah. That was
and you're having that conversation right in front of them. It's not like now they can go to the back room
yeah.
and be chatting up with some lady or something.
Yeah.
You're talking to your girl, you're talking to them right in front of your parents.
The phone was right there on the wall,
Yeah.
There's not going to be no later.
There's gonna be no later. I'll talk to you tomorrow at school. That's about it. Yeah, you're right. They got all that. We had like 3-4 channels. TV, these guys got the Netflix. I mean, I don't know.
TV used to go off at like midnight, man. I remember that. It used to go off at like midnight or 1 o'clock, and it'd just be like, or that little fuzzy bar, and that was it, man. You didn't have no TV. Like, oh man.
So how has all this COVID and stuff affected business, man? You're your own owner, so you're essential. I mean, construction, a lot of construction is essential.
Yeah, you know what? When it first came, it was kind of like I was like a little bit weary about what's going to happen because I had like different projects going on, and so I wasn't sure which way this was going to go, and I had like a kitchen remodel coming up, and and I talked to the customer, and I was just like, well, let's just see what's going to happen because I don't know what they're going to close. I don't want to start a project, be in the middle of it, and then we can't get supplies and materials because COVID shut everything down. So, with the exception of one person, not counseling but postpone it, and my other client that wanted to do like a rooftop deck, because she. Her income is like through dog boarding and, travel stuff and they stopped all the travel. Outside of that, like business is just like totally just like took off, because like people are home, people want to get their stuff fixed, some people, like you said, don't have the tools or, don't want to sit there and go buy tools just to do something. So
sometimes it's cheaper to bring someone in than have to get the tools and supplies and they mess up and not have to be,
It's like mechanical stuff, sometimes, you're like myself, I'm mechanically inclined, and I'm pretty good at figuring stuff out, but I'm just like, you know what, now I gotta buy this tool, that tool, I'm gonna use it one time, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna take it to a mechanic, and that's the same thing for me, so business has actually been good, and like some people want to do things cosmetically and some people actually need stuff actually fixed, electrical, plumbing, leaks, water heaters, all that stuff. So, like when it rained like that 1 week right there, we had a roof leak and, cabinet came crashing down because it's been leaking for, a while and the cabinet just kind of gave out, it's old MDF and particle board and that stuff is not, that stuff is really
it's not made to last like
not
that.
at all, so, doing roof repairs and, because, because I know how to do a little bit of everything is like why I'm like so busy. It's like, it's electrical one day, it's plumbing the next, it's, doors and this and that, I just did like.
Do people like that you don't have a huge crew? Because I imagine like I wouldn't want 10 people in my house right now. Maybe one person.
That's the biggest thing too, because it is just me, and the people's homes that I work in, it's big enough for me to kind of like social distance, we sit there and talk and stare at space and then they just let me go to work and, if we need to sit there and talk something. And even, payments and stuff like that, if I need to give them receipts, I just file them electronically. They pay me electronically, so it's...
That's where it's all going, huh?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I trip out on that sometimes. I Venmo my lady money or PayPal.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, I don't know, it's just interesting how you could just transfer money like that and it's real convenient.
It's cool though, it is.
It is, it's cool.
It saves you a trip to the bank and, all this exposure, it depends how like paranoid you are about it. But, as far as like, business goes, supplies and stuff like that has become a little bit more of a challenge, because it's like a line to get into the supplier like Home Depot and then a line to get out. So it's like, it takes more time to, kind of, maneuver a little bit.
I went in there for like 2 things the other day and it was like, I waited like 45 minutes to get in. And then it's like, do I really need this? But I really did. I was just like, So then I went and had to buy like 10 other things. So I'm like, I don't want to have to come back.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a challenge as far as like the COVID, but as far as like it affected my business and stuff like that, it really hasn't, it's like boomed, I got all these projects and, and because I do a lot of my own work like that, I always get referrals, it's like, and the people that I work for are all like detailed people. They care about the details, so it's like, oh, hey, this guy, he totally did them like this, and so that's how I get referred, all the time, so I'll get like one referral every week, and it's for jobs that are like larger than, you know, I want to handle, but I always say yeah and try to make it work or happen somehow one way or the other, yeah.
I feel like too, people had, you know, like I don't know that anybody knew that stimulus money was coming, you know. So like if you had a household, you know, you may have gotten 2, 3, 4 grand, you know, out of nowhere. So I imagine they're probably like, because I know when all this stuff started going down with the coronavirus and everything, my instincts were like, all right, we need to stock up on, you know, on the food that if anything gets hard, we can survive.
Yeah.
Let's get the beans and the rice, the
All
flour,
the canned foods,
let's get the canned foods, all that kind of stuff. And we did. We went and made took my check, and you know, I didn't even pay bills that month. I just went, you know, make sure we stocked up. So I didn't know where it was gonna
Yeah,
go.
I saw your wife down in that town. At the
She was
market,
down there
yeah.
doing all the stuff, you know, and it was like we did get our toilet paper and our paper goods, all that. Just
Costco.
you know, I wasn't there hoarding it or nothing, but we were down getting our stuff, you know, which was good because we have a lot of family, and it's like if somebody goes without, we want to be able to help them out.
Right.
And I got elderly parents. I got a bunch of water, you know. I got stocked up, you know, because I didn't know what was going to happen.
It's better prepared though. Yeah, I definitely get it.
And then so when that stimulus money came, I was kind of like, oh wow, I can pay all my bills and be good, you know, and look kind of shiny, you know.
Yeah.
And I imagine a lot of people. I didn't think that we were going to get money like that.
Right.
I didn't think that one bit. And so I'm sure a lot of people probably are in the same boat where they were like, whoa, there's an extra. Maybe we can fix the roof.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we can fix the.
Well, also the people that I do work for are like, you know, are established people. They're either retired or have multiple businesses that are working from home. So like, there's some people that it really
weren't
hasn't,
even affected.
it hasn't even, all they're doing is working, you know, went from the office and working at home. So their income is still the same, you know, like everything's still the same for them except for, you know, the new social norm out there in public, you know. Outside of that, it's like, hey, you know, how do you feel about this virus? Are you still working? Do you feel comfortable working or whatever? It's like, as long as, you know, wear a mask, you wear a mask, and, you know, we do our distancing, you know, just, you know, and it's not really that I'm paranoid or whatever, but just for the safety, you know, for the fellow person next to me, you know, I just don't want to, like, you know, I don't know how serious it can be, you know, but I don't want to find out. You know, so I'll take my precaution and.
Or worst off, give it to somebody around you. You know, that's the worst, I think.
Right.
I was thinking about that. If I catch it, I don't know if I care. I'm like, you know, I've heard it can be terrible.
Right.
But whatever. But I would just hate to see people around me catch it and be like, oh, I gave that to them. That's like the worst. But you know, I'm kind of a germaphobe anyways.
Yeah.
You know, I've always washed my hands. I've always kind of like, you know, on the West Coast, I've been, you know, saying like, we keep social bubble out here anyways.
Right.
I went to New York like when I was like 15.
Oh man.
And to go sing and stuff, and I didn't like it when I was that time because, you know, I was 15, I was whatever. But people kept bumping into me. And I was like, what you know, I thought we were going to problem. What's up, hey? But no, I kind of did think that way because that's what happens out here. Someone bumps you, it's like, you know, we got a problem.
Yeah.
But then I kind of realized, like, well, everyone just, you know, everyone bumps, you know, got some guy cussing, hey, get the hell out of the way. Yeah. Oh, I'm kidding. It's so it's just like, whoa. I kind of didn't like it. I was like, it's a crazy world. It's not chill, man. Yeah. Nothing was chill. So the next time I went out like right after 9/11, and anyways, I was out there, and that was real quiet. The city was real quiet. The demeanor was all different. I was like, well, this is a trip. And anyways, I went out again a third time, and I really liked it because it was kind of like what the city is, and I knew what to expect.
Right.
And I just got like they talked real close to each other, and you know. So when this thing hit, first thing I thought was like, man, New York's gonna have a rough time, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, some of these cities that they don't have that social bubble.
Right.
And the West Coast, man, we don't talk all up on each other. We give each other distance, especially on the res. You know, we're not.
Yeah.
We kind of give each other our distance, and you know, if you wash your hands and everything. I just kind of felt like it wouldn't hit as hard out this way.
Right.
Not in East County, anyways. Not our area. Again, we have the big social bubbles, man.
Yeah, and everything's all spread out. Well, for the most part.
Do you worry about all of this? Everything going on right now? Is it worrisome to you, or you just?
I don't really know how. Like, you know, what I worry about is society itself. You know, and how it's gonna hurt, like how it's gonna affect the economy. How people are not gonna bounce back. What I think about is like, you know, everybody getting back. You know, like, people are going to lose their houses, people are going to lose their businesses, people are going to, you know, become homeless, you know, there's going to be a spike in, like, you know, probably alcoholism, you know, drug addiction, you know, people are going to, like, probably, you know, different kind of abuses, you know, there's all kinds of things across the board, you know, that if you really think about it, it's really scary, you know, and that's what I worry about is just, like, you know, people out there, good people, you know, losing part of, life used to be normal, just a couple months ago. Now, like, everybody's world is upside down. People are like having to go to food banks that never had to before, and like, worried about where their next meal's going to come from. And that's sad. That's, that's, I don't know, like, that's scary, it is.
Yeah. A lot of us Indians have been through, with the quads and all that kind of stuff. And, it's kind of like we're almost prepped for some of this. But even, no one's really ready for this kind of change,
Right.
Especially if you haven't been living like this for a minute, I worry about stuff. I worry about society too. Things like, kind of abstract things, I guess. Like, the idea that when you walk out, you just see someone's eyes,
Yeah.
One thing I noticed today is that I naturally have this when I see people. I kind of smile like, hey, or I smile at old people and stuff, so they know that I'm not an aggressor. It's kind of like, it's just my natural,
Right.
I tend to smile at people. And I caught myself smiling at people today, but have a
Well,
mask.
nobody could see you.
No one could see me. I was like, why am I smiling at this dude? I'm not going to stop smiling because that's just what I do, you know what I mean?
But you know what, you could tell people are smiling because, like, I kind of saw the same thing. Some lady, was in Home Depot, and I could tell that she smiled, because the eyes change a little bit.
Oh, okay.
They kind of squint. I'm just like, oh, okay, she kind of smiled. But, probably like she'll think like, why am I smiling at people? They can't tell. But you can tell a little bit because their eyes change a little bit.
I do it as a natural reflex.
Yeah.
Like, hey, unless I'm angry, then I get the angry eyes. But,
right.
but it's like everything's in the eyes right now, and it's like a part of our humanity is being taken. Like, when you approach someone, you look at someone face to face, and you have like that exchange. It's just a trip. I don't know. And the other part of it too is kind of like, when you're single and all the guys used to be like, "Oh, baby, I love your eyes." It's like everybody who's got beautiful eyes, I guess. You know what I mean?
Well, what's weird about it too now is not only that, is just like, now everybody's walking around all like scared of each other, like, oh, you got cooties and stuff, like, cause like I still work in it. A lot of times I gotta go to my truck and get different tools or equipment or whatever. So like I have to open it up, and I'm usually parked in the street. Very rare that I'm parked in someone's driveway, but I'm parked off the street. And a lot of people are taking the streets these days, out exercising, walking their dog, whatever, family. So it's like weird. I'm like doing my thing, and I got my mask on, and then people come in and they see me, and I'm like trying to hurry up and get my stuff and get out of the sidewalk. But people, like, they just walk all the way around. It's like, I got cooties or you got cooties, either way, like totally avoiding each other. And it's like so weird, when it never used to be like that. So that's one thing that I'm still trying to, like, and it's not like they're looking at me because I'm like brown or whatever. It's just
might
like,
be.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
The army used to think that, like,
I see what it is.
So it's because I'm brown, over here.
Well, I wonder, like, are people doing that because they're genuinely scared, or is it they don't want to, like, put themselves in your bubble to offend you?
I think
it's both.
I think
right?
it's both.
Okay.
I think it's both. People, like, like for myself, I'm doing it for the other people as a precaution. So they might be doing it as the same thing for me, or to protect themselves, or protect me, whatever. So so like I don't want to pass judgment. So that's
I was thinking about that too, because
but
I kind of got, I don't want to say offended, but I was just kind of like, these guys. Then I had to think about it, like, I don't want to cast judgment because I don't know if they're doing that to be like, I'm trying to support you in your social isolation, or they just be like, get away from me, you're dirty. I don't know. I don't know if I cared either way, but I do know this: there's a lot of people losing their shit out there, dude. I was at the Albertsons in Alpine, and I was in there just checking my stuff, and everyone's, and at that particular Albertsons, everyone's in line 6 feet away. You got people with masks, gloves, the whole thing. Like, everyone's, they're all about it, which is good. I feel safe and whatever in there, I guess. But this is before they put the order that you had to have it.
Oh.
This was a couple weeks ago, and there was a lady in there, and she was flipping out. I want to talk to the manager. There's a lady over there in aisle, whatever. She don't have her mask on. I told her to put it on. She told me she wasn't gonna wear a mask, and you guys need to kick her out of the store. She shouldn't be here. She was like, she wasn't talking like in a civil manner. Like, man, there's a lady that she was like yelling, and she was kind of heavy set. You could just see she's getting worked up, and she was breathing hard. And I was like, what the heck? And so the manager comes over, and then she starts chewing the manager out, and she's like, oh, ma'am, calm down. What's going on? They're trying to be kind of calm the lady, but the lady was just giving it to her, and you can see the manager's getting kind of pissed. And I don't know, man. I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I get that she's nervous and concerned, but why would you go to yell at a bunch of at a bunch of employees? It's not their fault that lady don't have masks. First off, at that point, it wasn't the rules. Like, you didn't have to. It was kind of common courtesy that you do or whatever. And hey, some people don't want to wear a mask. Don't go buy them, I guess, or whatever. But It was just like, holy crap, dude, people are losing their crap. And you see that around,
well,
man.
you're starting to see it a lot more now because
Yeah.
now it's mandated to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And, some people, are like total anti, government shutdown and all this other stuff. And so, it brings a lot of problems, because we're so divided now, and it starts from the top down politically, whether you think about it like that or not, but it really does, and like, we can't even agree to sit there and be on one side and try to figure this out and get through it together, It's just like, oh, I don't care, thing's all fake and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, well, and then you get the other people like, hey, we're going to be cautious, because we respect people.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I always going to have that clash right there. So you're starting to see more of that now out in public where people are not wearing their masks. And it's like, hey, what the hell are you doing?
That debate's a weird thing to me because it's like, you do see like, okay, the numbers are not accurate. We know that. Everybody knows that the numbers aren't accurate. They kind of dropped the ball in the beginning.
Yeah.
They incentivized hospitals to tag people who pass away as having COVID because they get paid more for those people than if they died for something else. So there's all of these, situations I'm sure that later on, when we look at the numbers, they'll be greatly altered. Okay, I get that. But you can't dismiss like New York and all those people dying. You can't dismiss, for us natives, the Navajo Nation are now just getting racked. Up and down the Colorado River, they're on quarantine or what do they call it, curfew, because they've got a bunch of cases. It's hitting Indian country, and it potentially could hit us very, very harshly because we do have a lot of people with high risk, and the argument's been made also that elders, like if an outside elder loses, it's sad. A loss of life is always sad. But our elders, they're the ones still holding on to our language and a lot of our things that are. So you lose one of our elders, it has such a huge impact on our society, so that it's like we should be really, really protective and skeptical and all of these kinds of stuff. And so like there's all of these mixed messages in my mind I hear and see. It's just like, man, this is crazy times. And it's I really wish that from the get-go we would have attacked this like a World War II or I type of mentality where, our president or our leaders would have just said, we don't know what this is. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the timeline. And instead it seemed like towards the end somewhere there, it seemed like everybody was on board.
Right.
And then at some point it was kind of like, well, some states are going to open, some aren't. Some people think this, and the president came out and was like, well, those people protesting, they're all good people, never seen so many American flags. And then it seemed like the next day, if you were a Trump supporter, you were in favor of opening. But at the same time, it's not a clear-cut thing that, but there definitely is more of a division. And it's like, this nation did not need more division.
Totally divided.
It is like so divided in everything you do, It's
because you got this
blue, red, it's open, close, it's whatever.
Well, I feel like, the government is not doing enough for the people because if the government was, you wouldn't have all these people trying to anti or protest these like lockdown orders or whatever. If the government was helping the people enough and just like giving them food vouchers and maybe making the banks like suspend mortgage payments, all the payments, and giving them a stimulus check to provide for just food, then you wouldn't have people up in arms right there. So I understand why people are getting all crazy and wanting to go back to work and willing to risk their life to put food on the table. I totally get that, but another part of the protesting I don't understand is like all the firearms and all that stuff. Like,
oh man, did you see that?
That's crazy.
Darn well, if you and I would have showed up with our guns there, we'd be in jail or shot.
Yeah.
That's the great. Oh man, that's America we live in. I mean, there are natives everywhere. Like instant. I swear that I saw the image of the news of that happening, and I went, what in the? And then I swear I looked at my social feeds on all the stuff, and it took Indians like 2 minutes to meme it. You know what I mean? To have all the images of Standing Rock and all these people in prayer, sitting there on their land, fighting for water, and then you have militarized police force coming in, White Swan, everybody coming in, and I know guys that were arrested 20 times just standing there like that. Then you have these dudes in the Capitol building. You have the politicians walking in with bulletproof vests on because they're afraid they're going to get shot, and these guys are in the Capitol building with rifles, and the police are like, oh well, you have them yelling in the police officer's face these images. It was like, oh my god, so much inequity and inequality.
It is, and it's like so contradictive, about like the freedom of speech. It's like you want free and like the whole pro-life and the abortion stuff, my body, my choice, and then, you know, you got, so it's just like, it's totally contradictory. You
Yeah.
know, the same people that like, you know, my freedom for, you know, my Second Amendment, freedom of speech, and then are totally like my body, my choice, but you're against abortions. Like when the people abortion sit there and say that you're against it, but you're okay with
Yeah.
it, like for wanting to go back to work or because you need a haircut or your nails done or whatever. So it's just, yeah.
And it's
just
across the
crazy.
board. The
Yeah.
contradictions are gnarly. You see all the
Yeah.
people. There's like a whole population of people that are like anti-gun, but when this happened, they were in line to go try to get a firearm
Yeah.
because they got scared, you know. And the contradictions are all over the place with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
The people that are, you know, Blue Lives Matter, you know,
Yeah.
all lives matter. They're those main ones that were there talking about you know, yelling at the police, disrespecting the law enforcement. You know, the people that when they, you know, when a young person or a person of color is shot by the police, you know,
Yeah.
and you see the video, you always hear these people chiming in with, well, we don't know what led to that event, you know,
Right.
we don't know what happened, why are they doing that, you never, if they weren't, if they were behaving themselves, if they didn't break
Right.
the law, they wouldn't be in that
You see
situation.
all of it.
But those are the same people that are out there saying, I'm not following this law, this order.
Right.
You know, here in California, it's like, Newsom's he's a Nazi, you know, and so
Right.
totally against the law, breaking the law,
Right.
you know, and outward about it, like, you know, the Constitution but again, those are the same people who say, well, we better look into these police, you know, brutalities. We don't know why that cop blasted that dude 5 times in the back, you know.
Right.
And it's like, how are you? It's so contradictory, you know.
So
and
much of it. You know.
it's
and-
whatever fits their own little scenario. And it's right now, it's really come to a head with us. I feel like, but it's been a thing, you know. It's been with immigration. It's been with just a lot of stuff, you know,
Well,
the
it's
border wall.
It's everything now.
Oh,
you
it's
know?
everything. I mean, what you should say? No one's illegal on stolen land. I like
Yep.
that, by the way. That's
Yep.
really-
Yep.
But I mean, that speaks to a lot of it because as Indians are sitting back watching all this stuff, going like, we've experienced this the last 150 years, solid.
Right.
You know, everything that's happening to society now that people gripe about, we've already experienced. You know,
Right.
and we're the original people of this lands, and it's like. I don't want to say it's comical because it's not funny, but it kind of is sometimes. You know, sit back and see these people flipping out and wigging out,
It is.
and it's like, who are you to get all crazy about immigration when
Right.
your grandparents came from somewhere else? You know, this is craziness.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's a little frustrating too because you know, like some people don't want to look at history. You know, when it, you know, because those are the facts. You know, and it's just like you know, you can't, like you're being ignorant to the fact. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and you want to sit there and put up this argument, you know, about immigration and, you know, immigration and the people that come here and work, whether it's illegally or legally or whatever, you know, your side is whatever, like those people that work, you know, are the ones that have turned, you know, the country to what it is because they're the ones out there
Yeah.
working the jobs that other people don't want to work.
Yeah.
You know, you sit there and take in our jobs or whatever. I don't think I've ever seen like Caucasian person out there picking the fields, you know, like you see the Hispanic
Yeah.
workers or immigrant workers out there doing. So, you know, it's just more BS, you know, I think, just from all that standpoint, you know.
Yeah. It's terrible when you hear like a European American, as I call them, because you know if you're like African American, Asian American, but if
Right.
you're Caucasian or white, they're just, oh, I'm just an American. It's like no. You're European American, bro. Let's not get it twisted. That's what you are.
Yeah.
You're not Native American. You're European American. I'm indigenous. You know what I mean? It's like, nah, you're European American. But it's like, you know, well, not even just that group, but every group right now is just like really set like on like if you're pro-Trump, oh man, anything he says does. Oh, you know, it's fine. Oh, you know, their media is just twisting his words. He never said to drink Lysol. And if you hate Trump, you know, like it's the same thing too. It's just like no matter what he says, you can't do anything right. You know,
Right.
and it's like, and so you almost find yourself being like anti-American or something. You're just bashing on anything that the nation does, and it's just crazy times because there's not enough real like. Let's just sit back and look at all the facts, or let's look at everything rationally and make our own decision. And instead, everyone's just kind of like throwing themselves onto teams.
Yeah.
And it's terrible because I think it's misguided, man.
Yeah.
I think people are gonna wind up with some mental health issues just going down those trails of ignorance instead of just really looking at stuff.
Well, this is definitely trying times, because, people don't have a whole lot going on right now. A lot of people are watching the media and the news and stuff like that. So, depending on what your sources and what your beliefs are, you're just going to suck that up because you got nothing to occupy your time. And, the racism has always been around as we're kids, it's just something that's always been here since beginning of time. And I remember, it being like that as a kid, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad till like it is now, and that racism, it just seems like it's just rubbing off on people that are like, don't even live like that, Sometimes I find myself guilty of it. It's like, man, you know what, I need to stop being that way, but it's like kind of hard because it's like we become divided,
Yeah, you get pissed and I mean, I've had people say things to me and thinking I'm, not knowing I'm native, and that'll piss me off, and I'll come back and I'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have said some of that stuff, so it kind of comes off racist, you know? I'm not trying to be racist or reverse racist, but it's like, sometimes you just got to speak some hard truths, And I do that sometimes on my social media, which, I have to kind of catch myself and go, I better ease up on that. Because, I do have a lot of European American friends, people of all religions, religions and races and creeds or whatever, but at the same time, it's like there are sometimes you have to kind of just call it for what it is, I don't know. You just have to it's just the facts. It's the truth. You know what I mean? And I like the immigration one. I think is the most glaring one for us because it's like, how are all these people who just got here a couple generations ago going to pretend everybody else? Are these people who are indigenous to this continent are illegal for stepping two steps to left or right?
Right.
And it's the people who've been here for thousands of years. It's all craziness to me though.
Well, what's weird too about like the immigration stuff like that, it's you see some of the generation gaps too. It's just like, okay, your family probably came to this country maybe two generations ago, so that's why you're a citizen or whatever. So this people coming over here are only coming over here for what your family did 2 generations ago. So why are they so different? Because of the time capsule's a little bit off, like. Why are you a little bit more privileged because you were born here and they're coming over here to do the same thing your family did? I just don't understand where the there's no empathy or sympathy for people. And
then the rationale to throw those people in a cage, and the kids and all that, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I think our grandkids are gonna look back at this time in history and just be like, man, those some messed up times. They're doing all these crazy atrocities to people. And at the same time, it's a good time to be alive. It's a good time to be around doing things because, we have a high standard of living. A lot of us are not having to deal with the BS that our grandparents had to deal with,
right,
and whatnot. But it's like these, I don't know. It's pretty brutal.
It's different times right now. It is. I never thought I'd see this in my life. The pandemic and just all the craziness because there's a lot of crazy going on out there. And the more that we go down that way, you're going to see more of it, because people are like panicking and, and we're not united anytime soon.
No.
Not with this going on. Maybe after the election or whatever, maybe, if there's a change in command or whatever, but, there might be even anarchy to that too, because there's so many people that follow that side and that like are willing and wanting to revolt and all kinds of nut jobs out there, it's like.
The one good thing, though, I don't know if you ever watched the press conferences. I've really gotten into watching the press conferences. This is terrible.
For entertainment?
For entertainment, not for information.
Yeah.
Because those guys go at Trump, or, to me, honestly, the questions aren't that bad. But he just goes at him, and now he's got that new press secretary, and she's real attractive and everything.
Leia or something
dude,
like that.
She's quick. She has all these things written down. She's got a binder of BS, just as, and she'll give it right back. She'll say, and then on this date, the Washington Post said this, which was wrong, and then she just like, man, she just had a couple of days where she just drilled him, and then she has like always something really strong,
right?
And she'll finish off of that like a knockoff homer, and she just walks out. Thank you for your time. Just walks out. You just know that media corps must just be. They must just hate her, man.
Yeah.
It's real comical though. It's entertaining to watch. Trump's good at it, and she's just great at it. I'm like, wow. I'm kind of like rooting for her now. She's got him. It's kind of like when that Ken Jennings was winning on Jeopardy and he couldn't lose. That's how I feel like that girl is. I'm like, man, she can't lose, man. It's like, she's arguing some craziness, dude. Like, Trump's made some big mistakes, I'm not saying everything he's done is wrong, but some of the things he says is just ridiculous, and they're calling him on it.
Yeah.
But according to her, it's a whole different story, man. But it's so entertaining to hear that. Because you just wouldn't think that in a situation like now you would have leadership arguing with the media.
Right.
Like, you know, it's like we probably need some real info right now, you know, like people's lives are on the line. But no, we're just gonna argue with the media for everybody and make it
Yeah.
comical.
It's a
Crazy.
disaster, man. Just like, it's good for a laugh sometimes.
Yeah, man. But I think everything's gonna work. I'm an optimist, you know. I think
Yeah,
things
of
will work
course.
out. I think our people have been through a lot. I think a lot of, I think just America's been through a lot, you know. I don't know where the world's going. I feel like it's not gonna be, what it is now is not what it's gonna be in 20 years, obviously. And it's,
Yeah.
and who knows, but, you know, I'm a parent. I got grandkids coming one day and I hope they have a good world to come to. You know, stay optimistic and try to
Of course.
build good cycles, man. Build, you know, I'm really on this, like, trying to create generational wealth and build generational wealth. You know, I've been talking to a lot of people about this, but my thought process is, you know, 3, 4, 5 generations ago, our people had generational wealth, but it was in the knowledge of the plants and the knowledge of the land and, you know, how to take care of each other and
Right.
the wisdom and all these different things. And that was a wealth. And I think that was taken away when the boarding schools came and the movements of people came in, and that, you know, 4 or 5 decades of just extreme poverty came. It was hard for our people to make it, you know, and
Right.
I think a lot of that kind of went away. But at the same time, you know, it remained. That's why we're still here, you know.
Well, you guys started regaining traction, whatever, because you guys started doing like the village and
Yeah,
like a little bit
yeah.
more like that, the gathering and stuff like that. And you know what? You see a lot of the younger generation involved with that too. So that's like really good to sit there and see and like picking up the songs and learning
Yeah.
about that. Like I trip out, you know, some of the, you know, our kids are, you know, like sit there and be like, oh, whose kid is that? Like out there. And,
You all know their
see-
parents?
Yeah,
That's how you know you're old, huh?
Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
that kid? Like, oh, who's their parents?
Oh, hey, man, I know your dad. Hey. It's like, oh. Hey,
Yeah.
kids have no idea of like stories or nothing like that, but yeah.
It's true though, man. But you know, there's a lot in that. So you develop your community like that. You develop programs, whatever it is. And I think that as a community, we're doing that. We're strengthening ourselves, and then the next generation is going to feel the benefit of that. It's like an
Yeah.
investment. And I think as an individual, I want to, you know, people think of generational wealth. It's money,
Yeah.
but it's not just having a savings account with money. It's usually not that. It's usually having like stocks, you know, having interest
Right.
in that. But I really think it's a big part of it is having real estate, having homes that
Right.
you can send down the way to your kids and grandkids, because they can use that as collateral to take out a loan to build their business if they want
Right.
to do that. That real estate becomes worth something. They have somewhere to live,
Right.
you know, and so creating that generational wealth, something to give to your kids. And I think a big part of that generational wealth is the knowledge and the confidence that, hey, you can go out and do something for yourself. You can build yourself. You can go and learn and create a trade for yourself or own a business.
Right.
And here's how you're supposed to manage these kind of monies, and here's what you shouldn't do, and here's how to stay away from those pitfalls.
Right.
And it's like all of that learning, you know, our generation, probably generation before us, and the one after us is like really hunkering that down because, and I really think our generation, because, you know, we come from like roots that are very old, where they were doing those older things. They didn't have the economy that we have today,
Right.
and we're the ones trying to build that. So our kids, you know, they have a chunk of money. We can kind of show them how to
Right.
spend that money in a
Invest
good
it.
way, invest
Right.
it. If they're having hardships, we can tell them like a good direction to go to, you know, and not just spout out what we're supposed to say. Because I'm telling you, a lot of parents are just like, oh, go to college, because they don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
You want to tell your kids something positive, you know, go do something, don't be like me. Hey,
Yeah.
that's a lot of parents say.
Yeah.
Go to college. But it's like, is that a good message? I don't know, you know, maybe not. But I think it's not the only, it's probably a good
Right.
message, but it's not the only message.
Right.
And so the more I can learn, the more I can help my kids. And so what that is again, it's some of that wealth of knowledge that I'm creating, tapping into, and giving to my kids. And they can tell my grandkids more things than I can even tell them.
Right.
And then we're just building ourselves up. And that's, again, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and then, of course, economically, you
Right.
know. And so it takes, it's going to take us as a people to go into the different trades.
Right.
And I would love to see all my kids do something a little different from each other.
Right.
And if one's a mechanic, cool, I'll take my car over there. If one owns a dealership, I'll go buy my car over there. And,
Well, it's
you
also too, you know, going back to what you're saying, you know, like leadership earlier, you know, it's like I think it starts with that, you know, you're a dad to your kids, and you know they know that you went to college and you know you had a career in teaching and stuff like that. So, you know, when you sit there and you tell them that, it's not like you're just like, pulling out of thin air because you didn't do something with yourself. Because you know, you could sit there and speak from experience. You know, when I look at some of these other guys, they could, you know, sit there and talk down, you know, to their kids about that too. You know, like myself, you know, like even though it took me a while to get where I'm at, and I'm still, you know, trying to get further, you know, that this is just a stepping stone. I can share, you know, with my kids, you know, and, you know, who I spend a lot of time with is my youngest daughter, you know, because she's still under 18, so she goes back and forth, but it's like, hey, you know, like this is what you should do with your life. Find something that, you know, you're going to enjoy doing, something that's going to be worthwhile for you. Find your thing, you know. It's like, you know, if it's me that motivates you, let me be your motivation, you know. It's like, because it took me a while to get where I'm at, you know, and they might not get it the first time around, you know, but, you know, stay persistent, you know, just continue to keep on grinding, you know that you're doing it for a purpose and not just spinning your wheels, you know, to end up nowhere. Like, know that there's a goal in sight, you know, even if you fall off track a couple of times, you know, just know that, you know, you want to get there. Just keep on, you know, keep on trying, you know. I always like try to encourage that to like my daughter, you know. Like, and I tell it, you know, and I have to look at myself as an example, you know, because, you know, where I was at like 4 or 5 years ago, I was just barely walking out of those steel bar cages down in, you know, Otay or whatever, and then here I am now, you know, but it didn't start then either, though. It's been something that I've been progressing towards, you know, so, you know, that's something that, you know, I, you know, try to just, you know, tell my, you know, my daughter and my kids, you know, just stay persistent, you know, stay goal-orientated. You know,
it's a beautiful message, man. I think that's all we can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try to build ourselves and tell our kids a good message. Well, man, I want to thank you for coming in, man. We're gonna have to call it. It's been a couple hours.
All right.
But no, you have to come back again sometime and tell us more about your business and stuff like that. I want people to really like hear that. You know, that our own people doing these kinds of things, owning, you know, being in ownership positions to, you know, build themselves up, and, you know, we don't come from necessarily roots where our parents could give us a business. We have to develop it ourselves. That's what I mean, like, we're that generation.
Yeah.
And so we want to be able to give our kids something, so we got to do that. But it's gonna take, you know, people like yourself to do it, show others that it can be done.
Right.
And that, you know, you don't have to, again, be given it. You can develop that, and it's not always easy.
Of course.
And again, the main goal is to try to, not about ourselves, but help our kids, our community, and give back. So thanks for coming in, man, sharing all that.
Having me here. Yeah.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, live from the Rez.